Okay. Okay. So, okay. So let us start today's session. And today I'm going to first discuss what are different Microsoft Web technologies. Then I will move towards ASP.NET Core. Then I will compare ASP.NET Core with .NET Framework. Then I will give you a brief introduction, right? A brief idea. What are the changes they have made, right, from .NET Framework to .NET Core in terms of a code execution process? What are the compiler? What are the code libraries, right? All these things we are going to discuss. So, as we know, Microsoft provides, right, different web application development frameworks, right? So the frameworks you can use, right? Whatever frameworks I use, I know at least I'm providing here. You can say, right, if you are right coming to learn something related to Microsoft, right? If you are going to develop web application using Microsoft, coming from older days to till today, right? There are different and what I can say web application development frameworks that is provided by Microsoft. Starting from ASP.NET Web Form. So before ASP.NET Web Form, there is something called Classic ASP. I never used or I never worked with the classic ASP, right? But there is something called Classic ASP. Then something called ASP.NET Web Form. In one of right here, they worked with ASP.NET Web Form.
Yes, I have got it.
Okay. So in ASP.NET Web Form means this is a drag and a drop kind of functionality, right? Right, we have something called ASP.NET MVC. We are learning something called ASP.NET Web API. We are learning something called ASP.NET Core. Currently, right, the Blazor and many more frameworks are there, right? Razor Pages, WCF, WPF, right? Many things are provided by Microsoft. But when it comes to web application development, right, these are the things. So here you can also provide the list as Razor Pages, right? Razor Pages is also there. Blazor application is also there. So these are the different framework which is provided by ASP.NET for developing web applications and web services. Clear?
Yep.
Yes,
Yes.
right. You guys remember, none
Yes,
of
sir.
these services, none of this framework replace other. Means what? Classic ASP is different. ASP.NET Web Form is different. So don't think that ASP.NET MVC replace ASP.NET Web Form. Or don't say that ASP.NET Core replace ASP.NET MVC. No. Each having its own purpose, and none of the frameworks are meant to replace the other. Yes, so when they introduced the ASP.NET Core, they have made a big fundamental change to the older ASP.NET framework. So what are the changes they have done? We are going to discuss. But before that, let us give some introduction to this older framework. So ASP.NET Web Form is one of the Microsoft web application development framework. It was introduced in the year 2002, and when it was introduced with .NET Framework 1.0. So it is basically used to build a dynamic data-driven web application using drag and drop and event-driven programming model. Means what? If you are going to develop a web application using web form, it is very similar to your Windows form application. Where in Windows form you are having some controls, you can drag the controls to the panel where you can double click and create the event, right? The similar kind of a functionality they have provided with ASP.NET Web Form, right? Clear, guys? See, if you know, that's fine. If you don't know, then don't put your brain here because we are not going to learn ASP.NET Web Form. And again, the what is the current status? So instead of node, so what we can say, we can give the message as a current status. So current status is it is the legacy technology and no longer activity is developed. See, if you want to develop new project, then what Microsoft recommend? Microsoft recommended to use ASP.NET Core. Clear? Clear,
Yes, sir.
guys? Right? So ASP.NET
Okay, sir.
Web Server is currently outdated, or you can say it is legacy. Right? They have already given priority to ASP.NET Web Server. They said, take the bye bye, good night. Right? So this thing is already done. So we are not going to learn ASP.NET Web Server. After ASP.NET Web Form, the market is huge, right? Market is grow with ASP.NET Web Form. And then what Microsoft introduced? Microsoft introduced to something called ASP.NET MVC. The MVC means, right, at that time, right, what I can say in the year 2009, They introduced the ASP.NET MVC framework. So ASP.NET MVC framework, here you can see ASP.NET Web Form introduced with the .NET Framework 1.0. So ASP.NET Web Form initially introduced with the .NET Framework 1.0. Similarly, ASP.NET Core, ASP.NET MVC, it was introduced with the .NET Framework 3.5 and in the year 2009. So this number, it doesn't make any sense. If you remember, if someone asked when it was introduced, at what, in which .NET framework version this concept of this framework can introduced, if you remember, that's fine. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. So what is important with ASP.NET MVC means it follows model view controller. So if someone asks you, sir, what is ASP.NET MVC? And what is this MVC? See, guys, remember, people are getting confused, right? People are getting confused. Okay, let me clarify what confused they are getting. If I will ask you, so most of the guys, right, who are attending the session, they might be know this concept. Can anybody tell me, is these two terms are same or both are different?
Same.
Same. How many of you agree that this ASP.NET MVC and MVC both?
Different, to say.
So if it is
Different.
different, then can you please tell me what is the difference between these two terms?
Uh, I think, sir, MVC is like an architecture pattern, and ASP.NET framework is being used that like which we used to implement this particular architecture pattern to develop web application.
Exactly. So this is nothing but your model view controller architectural design pattern. So this is right. This is going to be a, you can say, design pattern. So what kind of a design pattern? Architectural design pattern, right? So architectural design pattern means what? It is going to define the architecture, right? Architecture of your application. So MVC is a architectural design pattern whose main objective is to split the application into three different components. Architectural design pattern means what? So MVC is an architectural design pattern. So architectural design pattern means it is going to be used at the project architecture level. So how you are going to design the project architecture, that is going to give you a that is going to decide. So what do you mean by architecture? What type of architecture it is going to use? So it is basically going to split the application into three different components. So you have to define model separately, view separately, and controller separately. So basically, this is the design pattern. This is the framework. This is the what type of a framework? Web application development framework. And this web application development framework, right? So this web application development framework is based on, right? Is based on this MVC architectural design. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
The MVC means this is the architectural design pattern, and this MVC framework, it is not only right, it is not only mandatory, right? Don't think that this MVC means it is only going to be used in ASP.NET MVC. People who are working with Java, they are using Spring MVC. People who are working with the PHP, they are using this MVC, right? In ASP.NET Core, we are also going to use this ASP.NET Core MVC. So MVC is a design pattern. This design pattern can be adopted by different technologies. Like in .NET, we can use ASP.NET MVC or ASP.NET Core MVC. In Java, they will use Spring MVC, right? So the point that you need to remember, whenever I'm saying a design pattern means it is independent. It is not tightly coupled with any any technology or any stuff. So it is independent. Technologies, they are going to use the design pattern. Design pattern is not going to use the technology. So don't say that MVC is going to use ASP.NET. See, right? So ASP.NET can use the MVC design pattern. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So that is what you need to remember. So they introduced this model, MVC model view controller design pattern in the year 2009 and with the .NET framework 3.5, right? So what is the current status? See, the current status is it is still supported. So you can develop application using ASP.NET MVC. But Microsoft has shifted its focus to ASP.NET Core MVC. So if you want, you can still Microsoft provide support for developing these applications, right, using ASP.NET MVC. But Microsoft shifted its focus to ASP.NET Core MVC. Why? Because ASP.NET Core is cross-platform, right? ASP.NET Core MVC provide cross-platform functionality and enhanced performance, right? How it is providing cross-platform functionality, how ASP.NET Core is open source, how it is providing enhanced performance, everything we are going to discuss. So the main objective is, if you are having some old project which you cannot migrate to new ASP.NET Core, then you can still work with ASP.NET MVC. But if you are going for new project, you should consider ASP.NET Core MVC. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? Right. Similarly to ASP.NET MVC, right? They also introduced something called ASP.NET Core Web API in 2012, right? So in 2012, with .NET, with the .NET Framework 4, right? They have introduced, right, this ASP.NET Web API. Right. So this ASP.NET Web API, this is also web application, not web application. ASP.NET Web API is basically a web services development framework. So guys, remember, both are two different things, right? So can anybody tell me what is the difference between web application and web services?
In
Web
the web
application,
application, we are implementation UI on backend.
so
But
here
in
you
web
have,
service means, yeah, we can service between
here this is
any two
only a
applications
data
without UI.
exchange. It's a
Yeah.
data exchange. It's a, so web application means you are having the UI where the user is going to interact with the application. Web services means it is a data exchanger only, right? So basically, it is going to exchange the data between the client and the server. Clear? So data exchanger means, all right, the client application, if they want to communicate with the database, then in between the database and the client application, the web services will be there. And this web application means it is the UI where the user is going to interact. For developing web application and this part, right? Earlier we are using ASP.NET MVC, and for this one, right, we are having multiple options. People are using something called WCF, right, for developing SOAP-based application, right? You can also use ASP.NET, right, Web API for developing, right, RESTful application. WCF, SOAP-based, no longer used nowadays, so we can remove this one. And this is ASP.NET Web API. So this is data exchanger, and it is basically used to develop, right, HTTP-based RESTful service. So what is RESTful services? What is HTTP? Right? All these things we are going to discuss once, once I started discussing the ASP.NET Web API concept. So basically, it is basically used to develop RESTful services, right? So the current status, it is very similar to this one, right? Means it is still supported, but Microsoft had shifted its focus towards the ASP.NET Core Web API. If you are existing project which you cannot migrate to the latest ASP.NET Core, then you can go with ASP.NET Web API. But if you are developing any new project, then who is you unmute, right? If you are developing any new project, then you need to think about ASP.NET Core. ASP.NET Core means ASP.NET Core Web API concept. Clear?
So this ASP.NET Web API, web services and RESTful services, all these are same, sir?
See, so how you are thinking, right? So first of all, this RESTful services means it is a, right, what I can say, some principle is there, right? Some constant, right? This RESTful services, they provide some principle. Similarly, if I'm saying C# is an object-oriented programming language, yes or no?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Why you are saying yes? Because it is following the OOPS principle, inheritance, polymorphism, right? Encapsulation, abstraction.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Right?
Correct.
Similarly, this RESTful services means they also provide some principle. That is, they should be stateless, right? They should support content negotiation, They should have some layered architecture, right? So similarly, this, right, many other principles are provided by them, right? So RESTful standards. So RESTful services means they provide some principles, and whichever framework follow this principle, we can call that framework as a RESTful framework, right? So basically, this kind of, so whatever principle provided by this RESTful, so by following those principles, we can develop services using ASP.NET Web API. So we can say using ASP.NET Web API, we can develop RESTful services. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
Similarly,
Sir,
सर
does
एक
this
बार और बता
RESTful,
दीजिए सर
sorry.
sir,
Okay.
does this
सर
RESTful services, I mean, the data exchange is only on JSON or in SOAP?
Yeah, it can be on JSON, right? It can be on XML, right? It can be any other format, any other format, which the client and server can understand. But nowadays, most of the, right, and the application 99% of time we are using JSON. So but it is not limited to JSON. I'm going to show you how to interchange data using XML, how to interchange data using other format, custom format. Most of the time, 95% of time, I'm going to show you JSON because this is the standard nowadays, right, using in the industry. And the reason for this is, right, any kind of a client application, whether it is a desktop application, console application,
Parota.
guys, whenever I'm explaining, please yourself, I'm going to give enough time. So while I'm explaining, don't put any question right in between, right? So see, JSON means what? This is the standard, right? This is the standard which is going to be understood, right, by all the different kind of clients. This means whether it is I don't know. Who is on mute? So I'm saying again and again on mute, right? Who are disturbing. So I need to make them mute, right? So the point that you need to remember, see here, right? Whenever you are working with this application, there are the two things. One is client, another one is server. Server is one. Server is one, right? So one server. But for this one server, we can have, right, multiple clients, right? So we can have multiple clients, right? So multiple clients means in this case, what are the clients? It can be a desktop application. It can be a console application. It can be a web
सर रेस्ट
application.
सर
So why?
रेस्टफुल एप्ली ऐप
See, while I'm
के
explaining why you are
वो
asking the question, I will take the question right one by one. Let me first complete my explanation. So desktop client, console is a client, web is a client, Android is also another client, iOS is also another client, IoT is also another client. Similarly, different client is there. So one server which is going to provide services, and these services is going to be consumed by, right, different client. Now, so why we are preferring JSON nowadays? Because, right, all these client whatever I have provided here the list, desktop, console application, web application, Android app, iOS app, IoT devices. Every client application they can understand JSON. But at the same time, don't think that all these applications they can support XML. So because of this flexibility that all the different kind of clients nowadays they can happily understand JSON format. Most of the time, the data exchange format what we are going to use is JSON. But at the same time, XML is still supported. Other custom format which the client, if the client and server agree that this client and server agree that we can send the data in a text format, that's fine. So if both the client and server are agree, then you can make the data in that format. But do you think that this Android application cannot understand text? So this iOS application that cannot understand state, but these two applications they can understand text format. But all these applications, they can understand JSON format, they can understand XML format. And because of this flexibility, right, most of the time, right, we are going to use JSON and XML. And comparing with JSON and XML, this JSON is lightweight. It is very, right, lightweight. As the weight is very less, right? As the size of JSON data, whatever the data I'm going to send using JSON format, and whatever the data I'm going to send, if the same data I'm going to send using XML format, then the JSON payload is going to be very less as comparing with the XML. And as this data is going to be transmit over the network between the client and the server, right? So the one thumb rule in internet, that is more data, more size, more time, less data, less time. So if I'm sending more payload, it will take more time. If I'm sending less payload, it is going to take less time. If the same data I'm sending, if the size with JSON is 1 KB, and if the size with the XML, the same data, the size might be 2 KB. So which is going to take more time, JSON or XML? Definitely, more time is going to be taken by XML. So this is the reason why nowadays, right, most of the client and server application, most of the client and server, they are exchanging the data in the form of a JSON. Clear? Now, anybody having
Yes,
any
sir.
question?
Sir, what is the principal use RESTful API?
Sorry, what is the?
Principal use RESTful API.
There are many principles, right? First of all is a stateless, right? Second one is layer. Third one is right. Third one is what I can say, content negotiation. Right? Similarly, other right principles are there. So these principles, right, and don't worry about these principles, right? We are going to discuss right this principle in detail. So once I start ASP.NET Core Web API, I'm going to discuss what are the REST principle, how it is following the REST principle, how we are going to develop the application using the REST principle. All these things we are going to discuss. Clear? Because see, until and unless I'm not giving you brief idea, right, or practical example, I cannot explain what do you mean by stateless, what do you mean by layered, what do you mean by content negotiation. So this concept, right, practically I'm going to explain. Clear?
Okay, sir, clear.
Anyone having any question, guys?
Sir, I have one question.
Please.
In this study, like for SOAP-based services, what is the data exchanger format we use? Is it
In
XML
SOAP,
or
to
is
be
it
frankly
JSON?
saying, to be frankly saying, I never worked with the WC, but I heard they are using something called a SOAP header and SOAP envelope, right? So, but practically, I don't have any idea or experience into WShape. But yes, WShape is there, which is basically used to send the data in SOAP-based format, right? But nowadays, that is outdated. No one is going to use nowadays SOAP-based services, right? So, if I'm not wrong, right, whoever working with ASP.NET Web API, right, they might be using ASP.NET Web API because SOAP, right, the data exchange format is going to be different, right? So even I have no idea exactly, right, what do you mean by SOAP involved, what do you mean by SOAP header, how the data is sending using SOAP header, SOAP involved, because I never practice, I never worked on SOAP. Clear? If you want to learn, you
Okay,
can
sir.
go
Thank you,
ahead.
sir.
You can learn WShape. This is one of the right framework which is provided by Microsoft, which you can use for developing both SOAP-based services as well as the RESTful services. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So, right, after ASP.NET Core, right, then the next framework they introduced is ASP.NET Core MVC. Core MVC means, right, I will discuss all these things detail, but for now, you just remember this is a cross-platform. What is cross-platform? I will discuss, and this is also open source. What is open source? I'm also going to discuss in some time, and this is basically used to develop modern cloud-optimized high-performance application. So modern applications, right? So the way nowadays, the way we need to develop the application by following the security standard, best practices, performance optimized, right, lightweight, modular approach. All these things are going to be followed by, right? All these things we are going to achieve using ASP.NET Core. Also, cloud optimized. So the application which we are going to develop using ASP.NET Core MVC or using ASP.NET Core Web API, we can easily host on cloud. For example, we can host on Microsoft Azure. We can host the application into ASP.NET, Amazon Web Services, and definitely it is a high performance, right? If you see why I'm saying high performance, practically I'm going to show. I'm not saying this is going to be high performance. It is recommended. It is already proven by Microsoft. From where we will see this practical, I'm going to show you the link of the MSDN site where they have given the benchmark, right? How much performance, right? It improved comparing with Java and the other React, or what I can say, Node.js kind of things, right? I'm going to discuss this thing, right? Practical, I'm going to show. Second thing, again, this is the model view controller design pattern. Guys, remember what is model view controller design pattern? I will take one session to explain. Because right, thinking that model view controller design pattern is not that easy. So what is model? What is the responsibility of a model? How the model will communicate with the view? What are the things you need to do within a model? What are the things you do not need to do within a model? What is the role and responsibility of a view? What things we need to write inside a view? What is the thing right we are writing which we should not be right inside a view? What is the role and responsibility of a controller? Right? How the controller interact with the model? How the controller select a view? Right? All these things I'm going to discuss by taking one session. So for now, just remember ASP.NET Core MVC, it is based on the model view designer. And coming to this part, right, it was introduced with the right in the year 2016, and it is a completely rewrite from ASP.NET. So it is not a right newer version, or right, or you can say the next version of ASP.NET MVC, or you can say ASP.NET .NET Framework. It is completely rewritten from the scratch, make it open source and a cross-platform. Right, so what is open source and cross platform, we are going to discuss, right? And this is the recommended one to develop web application by Microsoft. Similarly, this ASP.NET Core Web API, it is also basically right used to develop HTTP based services similar to ASP.NET Web API. Again, this is a cloud optimized open source cross platform, right? High performance, right? Whatever we discussed with the ASP.NET Core API, the same thing is also with ASP.NET Core Web API, and it is also recommended by Microsoft, right? And then, right,
Sir,
they also introduced, yes,
hello, sir. Sir,
yes,
what is the difference between a REST and normal API?
sorry,
What is the
what is,
difference between a
hmm?
RESTful API?
Your voice is breaking.
Sir, what is the difference between API and RESTful API?
Yeah, see, the difference is very clear. So API means right web application interface, right? And if we are not following the RESTful services, this is not a standard. For example, right, standard means, right, if I'm developing one programming language and if that programming language is not following the OOPS concept, then can we say that programming language is a, right, what I can say, object-oriented programming language? For example, C. Can we call C is a object-oriented programming language? No. But can we say C# is a object-oriented programming language? Yes. Why I'm saying, but practically, if you are thinking either C or C#, both are language or not?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
both are languages. Right? Yes. So what is the difference means? The difference is that, so whatever the RESTful services, right, RESTful principles we are providing, if that is following, then we can say that web API is a RESTful web API. If it is not, then it is a normal web API. So where, right, what is the standard set by the HTTP side? What is the standard set by the RESTful? So we are not following. So we cannot say that as a RESTful services, it is a normal API, similar to your C language. Clear?
Sir, you means that API is not a stateless or layered or content negotiation,
Yes, if it is
and the
not,
RESTful
then it is
API.
not a RESTful service.
Yeah,
It is a normal
yes,
API, which is
correct.
not going to
Normal.
be right accepted by the client, because client is also right. Don't think that the client is dumb. The client application, whoever developing, they are also working professional. They are also IT professional. So nowadays, if we are developing some application, we need to follow some standard, right? If for example, why I'm saying stateless, stateless means right, what do you mean by content negotiation? Okay, this is a very right topic. So content negotiation means client will decide in which format he wants the response. So you are developing the service, I'm a client. If I'm saying please send me the data in JSON format, you should send me the data in JSON format. As a client, if I'm demanding please send me the data in XML format, you should send me the data in XML format. If we are following the RESTful services, this content negotiation we can implement. One client wants the data in JSON format. Yes, my same service is going to return the data in JSON format. If another client wants the data in XML format, yes, the same service what I'm developing, that is going to return the data in XML format. Another client wants the data in text format.
Sir,
The
your
same
voice
service,
is breaking.
as my voice is breaking.
No, for me it's good, sir.
No, it's not broken. The voice is okay.
Your
Okay,
voice is okay,
that
sir.
means
Yeah,
okay.
it is okay from my end, sir.
Okay. So basically, if you guys are facing some issue, right, just restart your right Zoom account. It will work fine. Right. So point that you need to remember. So this content negotiation, right, what concept I'm discussing means what client will decide in which format he wants the response. If we are not following the RESTful services, how it can be possible? So do you think that I'm going to develop one service which is going to return the data in JSON format? I will develop another version of the same service which is going to return the data in XML format. I'm going to develop another service, same service, right, which is going to return the data in text format. So the same service, three different implementation without RESTful service. One service which is going to return the data in three different format with RESTful services. Now you just tell me which approach is better, following the RESTful or without following the RESTful.
Following.
RESTful API, sir.
RESTful, sir.
Right? So that is the reason why we are going to develop ASP.NET Core Web API, which is going to develop RESTful services. So this is just one example. Similarly, right, there are many principles are there, which we are going to discuss in detail. Clear?
Yep.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Sir, what is the difference between ASP.NET Web API and ASP.NET Core Web API, sir?
Right. So the point that you need to remember, right? So okay, so I will discuss this concept. What is the difference between ASP.NET right Core and ASP. Okay. So first of all, you just tell me what is the difference between ASP.NET framework and ASP.NET Core framework. Do you have any idea?
No, sir.
Open source.
Core framework will support the cross-platform. That's why
Yes.
The main difference
framework.
that only the
Until
cross
and unless
platform.
you have not understand these things, you will not understand. So for simple, you can consider not open source and not cross-platform. And this is open source and cross-platform. Right? So it is not ASP.NET framework, it is not open source. What is open source I'm going to discuss. It is also not cross-platform. ASP.NET core framework, it is open source and a cross-platform. That means what? That means if I'm developing the application using ASP.NET Web API, that means these applications are going to be open source or cross-platform or not? No. But if I am going to develop the same application using right ASP.NET Core Web API, it is going to be open source and cross-platform. So what exactly it means? It means for ASP.NET Web API, the platform is going to be Windows and right server is going to be IIS. But here the platform can be Windows, can be Linux, right? Can be Mac, can be Docker container, right? So this one, and you can host this thing in the Docker. You can host IIS, Docker, like the Apache. Right? You can use something called injects. What is that name? So right, different server you can also use. So now you got what is the difference between these two. We will discuss this thing in detail.
Yes.
But for now, this is not open source and not cross-platform, but this is open source and cross-platform. So open source and cross-platform means
Sir,
what is open? I will discuss. Cross-platform means multiple platform it is supported or not. If it is supported, it is cross-platform. If it is not supported, then it is not cross-platform. If you are developing RESTful services using ASP.NET Web API, means you need to use Windows and IIS environment. If you are developing ASP.NET Core Web API, it is not strictly right tightly coupled with Windows. You can use any operating system as per your choice and any server as per your choice. Clear?
So syntax is same for creating a ASP.NET Web API
Yeah, don't
and
think
Core
about
Web API.
don't go with the syntax at this point of time. So how to develop the application, I'm going to discuss practically. So it is not time to make you understand the syntax, right? Because the feature wise, they are going to be different. Implementation wise, they are going to be different. How to develop the application, I'm going to show you practically. So for at this point of time, don't think too much about the syntax. Clear, guys?
Okay, sir.
So next one is ASP.NET Core Blazor, right? Right, guys, remember, right? So people nowadays using full stack development, right? So can anybody tell me in full stack development? So basically, they are using front end, right? As any JavaScript framework, right? Front end means they are using some JavaScript framework, right? So JavaScript framework like React or Angular, right? And the right backend, it is going to be your web API services, right? Web API.
Sir, we
So
can use Bootstrap also for front end.
sorry.
Sir, Bootstrap also we can use for front end or not?
Do you think that Bootstrap also, I think, right, you need to think something differently. So Bootstrap is what is exactly Bootstrap?
Uh,
So without using a Bootstrap,
CSS,
you can,
CSS.
this is for
The
making your
CSS
web
library.
page look beautiful.
yes,
This
HTML.
is for making your page beautiful. You can use Bootstrap in right, so you cannot consider that as a framework, right? Bootstrap means without using Bootstrap, we can also develop application. No issue. We can use plain
Okay.
CSS and all these things. So here front end means
Okay.
people are using React and Angular nowadays. Back end means they are using ASP.NET Core Web API. So now that means on the front end we are going to use right some JavaScript framework and the back end we are using C# code. But now this ASP.NET Core Blazor framework will make you as a full stack developer. That ASP.NET Core Blazor framework, what they introduced, it will make you as a full stack developer where front-end application you are going to develop using C# rather than JavaScript. Now you just tell me, guys, if I will ask you to write some complex logic, create some classes, create some function, call the function, do some operation using JavaScript, and if I ask you the same thing to do using C#, which one you will feel better? Which you can easily implement using JavaScript or using C#.
C
C
sharp.
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 Because we are very acquainted with the C#. So Microsoft thinks, right, let me do something differently so that people feel it better. So they introduced this ASP.NET Core Blazor, where the front-end application, right, what we are going to develop, right, using HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap, instead of a JavaScript, we can make use of a C# code. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Right? So that is
Okay.
the use of right this ASP.NET Core. So client-centric application, if you want to develop, then in that case you can use where you can also going to develop some Blazor server app, Blazor WebAssembly app, right? So we'll discuss this thing right in detail, right? So not detail because Blazor is not part of our syllabus. So you can, if you want, you can learn them separately. But yes, this Blazor will make you as a full stack developer. But again, this is not meant for developing, right? What I can say, uh, complete or you can say, right, feature rich application. Means if you want to develop some kind of a single page application, then currently Blazor is fine because they are doing some R&D, they are doing some resources, right? They are providing many new features on every release. But in coming days, in 1 year or 2 year, you will see that Blazor is going to be groomed in the market. Clear?
Sir, but
We can, sir, we can
user
consider
only
Blazor as
understands
a
JavaScript.
legacy ASP.NET application. Like we can dragging and drop our buttons and drop downs, etc. That we can consider like this.
No. This is that drop down functionality is not available anymore with ASP.NET Core. That is only available in, right, if you are developing Windows Form application, right, then you will find this. But that drop down functionality is no more available. You have to write the code by yourself.
Okay, okay. In Blazor, we don't have any drop-down facilities. Okay.
It's even see what I'm saying. I have not to do any R&D on Blazor, right?
Hmm.
So, but what I can say, this is what right, the documentation whatever I have read, they have written. But I'm sure, right, they are not going to provide any kind of a drop-down functionality, because that drop-down functionality they have only completed with, right, what I can say, Windows Form application, and in the earlier, right, web form application.
Sir, but the browser only understands JavaScript, right? Then I think so. The C# code it is converted to
Yes.
JavaScript.
Okay. So for that purpose, they are using something called WebAssembly, where, right, the C# code is going to be right. So whatever the C# code we are writing, right, the browser is going to use something called WebAssembly. That WebAssembly is going to execute that C#. Right. So again, this is very complicated thing, right? Explaining these things doesn't make any sense at this point of time, because we are not going to learn Blazor, right? If you want to learn Blazor, right, you can learn by yourself, right? But for now, we are just going to keep focused on our ASP.NET Core concept. But yes, right, you are right. Browser cannot understand C# code. So for this purpose, what exactly we are going to do? We are going to run the browser using WebAssembly. So this WebAssembly, it exactly allows the developer to write C# or write code on the client side. So this C# code is going to be executed by this WebAssembly. And this WebAssembly, once it executes, it will convert that code, and that code is going to be displayed in the browser. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
So now you can see comparison and migration path. So legacy means if you are developing some project using ASP.NET Webber, please consider migrating to ASP.NET Core MVC and Razor Pages for better performance. Right? If you are comparing with ASP.NET Core MVC and Razor Pages, both are part of ASP.NET Core ecosystem. You can develop application using ASP.NET Core MVC as well as Razor Pages. ASP.NET Core MVC is preferred, right? This ASP.NET Core MVC framework is preferred for application requiring complex routing and controller logic. And Razor Pages, it is basically for simpler application, or you can say page focused application. For each page, there is a page behind the file, and inside, right, or you can say for developing single page applications or a small application, you can consider using Razor Pages. Web API integration, see, currently you can see if you are developing ASP.NET Core MVC application, you can easily implement Web API as part of that MVC application. They have unified both MVC and Web API into a single programming model. Means what? Means if I'm developing ASP.NET Core MVC application, then inside that application, I can also develop RESTful services. That is possible. How to do this? Practically, I'm going to discuss. Ledger versus JavaScript framework means what? Right? So Blazor offers an alternative to traditional JavaScript framework, right? So people are using React and Angular for developing the client-side application, but now Blazor also going to provide the same set of right, support for developing the client-side application. But instead of using JavaScript, you are going to use C# programming language, right? So choosing the right approach means what? Now, if you are developing new projects, then prefer to use right web application means you have to use ASP.NET Core MVC or Razor Pages. Web services means you have to use Web API, ASP.NET Core Web API. If you are working with right legacy project, if possible, then migrate those projects into right what I can say ASP.NET Core. If you need cross-platform support, right, means you want to develop the application and host the application on different kind of operating system, then you should prefer using ASP.NET Core. And if you want to become a full stack .NET developer, right, then please try to learn Blazor, right? So what is the difference between a traditional web application and a client-side web applications? The traditional web application means what? Now where, right, HTML pages are generated, right? For example, traditional web application and client-side web application. This is the two things that what we need to understand, right? So this is very interesting things. the traditional web applications and the interactive right client-side applications. So the difference is that, see, traditional web application we can develop using ASP.NET Core MVC and Razor Pages, right? Razor Pages. Interactive client application, right? We can develop using Blazor. So the thing that what you need to remember, the difference between these two applications is where the HTML content is going to be generated. Now, if you guys are having some experience into ASP.NET MVC, you just tell me, say in ASP.NET MVC, we are right, creating some kind of a views, yes or no? Some CSS HTML file. Anybody having any idea?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So some
CS HTML.
Yes, sir.
so this CSS HTML, it contains both HTML and C#. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes.
So this CS HTML is going to be executed by the something called Razor View Engine. Yes or
Razor
no?
View Engine.
So once the Razor
Yes.
View Engine process this thing, then it is going to generate the complete HTML. Yes or no?
Yes.
So all these things, right, are happening at the client side or server side.
Server.
Server.
Server. That means who generate the HTML pages here?
View Engine.
The HTML pages are generated, right, and server side. So if the HTML pages what we are generating, if they are generated at the server side, then we can consider this is a traditional web application. Now, coming to this one, right? If you are developing some application using React, if you are developing some application using Angular, right? So in this case, where the HTML pages are generated?
Sir, it depends na actually. In Angular, we are using Angular Universal. It can render on the server also.
The server means in the browser only.
Generated by the client side.
The client side, no? Client side in the sense what? Client side means browser. So whenever I'm saying something called a client, client means browser. Guys, remember, client means browser. So if I'm developing some Angular application, or what I can say React application, or forget about Angular React, right? Let's assume our Blazor application, then the HTML pages are generated in the browser. Clear? So if I'm using ASP.NET Core MVC and Razor pages, the HTML pages are going to be generated on the server side. And once the page is generated on the server side, that HTML page will be returned to the client in the sense browser. But in the case of an interactive client-side application, if I'm developing application using Blazor, the pages are going to be generated in the browser itself. Got it? So if someone asks you, what is the difference between a traditional web application and an interactive client web application, you have to tell whatever HTML pages, if they are going to be generated on the server side, then it is a traditional web application. If the HTML pages are generated on the client side, that is on the browser, then it is going to be a client side web application, interactive client side application. Clear, guys?
Sir, which approach
Yes.
is better, sir?
Better you can see. That is what I'm saying now. Client-side application means you cannot provide many more functionality and features. But in the case of a traditional web application, right, it is very secured and robust because the processing is happening on the right server side. So any complicated logic you want to execute, you can easily implement. But here, this is very, very difficult. Right? For example, if you look at your MVC views, right? Inside views, you can write many complicated feature logic. Yes or no? And once the Razor View Engine right,
Yes.
compile that CSS HTML file, it is going to execute your conditional statement, looping statement, right? If else condition, whatever statement you written, those are going to be converted into HTML, and that HTML is going to be returned to the client. But the same thing you can also achieve. But for that purpose, you have to write many complicated logic using write JavaScript on the client side. And they are introducing this Blazor web application right? Where you can also write those complicated logic, which is going to be executed on the server side for that purpose, right? But yes, this is all right that they are making this Blazor. That is the reason why, right? The Blazor is grooming in the market. In the next few years, you will see that people will forget right Angular and React. People will try to learn Blazor because, right, if you will ask any guys, right, who is working, if you will ask, please learn JavaScript, you will say, sorry, it is very difficult for me to learn JavaScript. But at the same time, if we will ask, can you please learn C Sharp or Java or any right object-oriented programming language, he can easily learn. Because right, if, as a developer, a developer, you also feel the same thing. Learning JavaScript is very difficult. That's actually there is nothing called difficult, but we are our mind setup is in such a way that we are thinking that learning JavaScript is difficult, but learning C Sharp, C++, Java is easy. So that kind of a mind setup we are having. But practically, if you are thinking nothing is difficult, nothing is easy. If people are feeling that is JavaScript is better, also people are thinking that the C Sharp is better. As a .NET developer, if someone asks us which one is easier for us to learn, we can happily say C Sharp because we are very acquainted with the C Sharp programming language. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So, any question, guys?
Sir, here you mentioned that we can legacy application like ASP.NET application, we can migrate with ASP.NET Core. So this is possible. We can migrate as it is that project, or we need to create from scratch.
As it is, how it is possible? As it is not possible because the structure, the things, right? They are going to be changed. I'm going to discuss what are the things they have completely removed. What are the things they are introduced, right? So those things I'm going to discuss. Even yesterday, someone asked right this question, and I have already given that I will show you. I will create one ASP.NET. Please unmute.
Sir, actually backend sounds more coming. Is there any way to you can put it from your end to mute all? Please.
Right. So guys, remember that is what I'm saying again and again. If you are asking, please mute yourself. And you are asking the question, and again you are in unmute state. That doesn't make any sense. If you are not asking anything, please mute yourself. Right. So right, and it makes sense because right, more number of students are attending the demo session. So once the main session starts, this problem we will not face. Again, who is on mute? So Abhishek Vishwakarma, right? Okay, so guys, don't mute yourself, right? So until and unless you don't have to ask anything. If you are not asking anything, please mute yourself. Clear? Right. So yesterday someone asked, right, this question, and I have already given that I will develop one ASP.NET framework application. I will show you practically how to convert that ASP.NET application into ASP.NET Core application. Is that clear?
Okay.
Right? Because I generally not prefer to give theoretical explanation. Whatever I'm going to discuss, I'm going to show you practically. Because if you theory, definitely I'm going to explain theoretically, but without practical, theory is useless. That is what my personal experience is. Right?
Yes.
So now let us try to understand what is ASP.NET Core framework and right what exactly Microsoft gives information, what information Microsoft provided for ASP.NET Core. Let us try to understand. See, nowadays when it comes to software development, right, as a developer, right, everyone is thinking about talking about free open source and cross-platform, right? And if we know, right, Microsoft is well known for its Windows-based product from its operating system, the ASP.NET framework, right? Everything, whatever he provided earlier is Windows-based. Means without Windows operating system, we can't do anything. But now we are in the new age of software development. The market is demanding, right? Many, what I can say, many, technologies, many programming language, they are coming into the market. So to compete with such technologies or such, what I can say, uh, programming language of such stack, and Microsoft also introduced a new product into the market that is ASP.NET Core, right? So basically, the point that you need to remember earlier, whatever Microsoft provided, that is Windows based. ASP.NET Core is not Windows based. So it is the new revolutionary product which is cross-platform, which is open source, and which is also absolutely free. So for installing Red.NET, you do not need to pay anything. The source code, right? Whatever ASP.NET Core, whatever core compiler, core FX file, right? The CLR, right? Whatever we are going to discuss, every source code is available on GitHub. Cross-platform means we can use the operating system as per our choice, right? So, and another thing that what you need to remember, ASP.NET Core is not a continuation of ASP.NET framework. It is completely redesigned from the scratch, right? ASP.NET Core, it is not a continuation. It is a redesign from the scratch to make the framework more modular, to right, make the framework open source, to make the framework cross-platform, cloud optimized, performance oriented. So these are the things which we are going to get with the ASP.NET Core. Now, let us try to understand what is ASP.NET Core, right? So to understand ASP.NET Core, we need to go to the official website of ASP.NET Core. So this is the ASP.NET Core official website. You can see the URL .netmicrosoft.com. So what exactly they are telling about ASP.NET Core? So ASP.NET Core is the modern, yes, definitely modern. Why? Because it is following all the modern architecture or modern standard, which is set by the industry. High performance, I'll show you why it is high performance. Web application framework. So basically it is a web application development framework for .NET. So what is .NET? This is the runtime that runs on Windows, Linux, Mac, and Docker. So you can say on Windows operating system you can run, on Linux operating system you can run, on Mac operating system you can run, as well as you can also run on the Docker container, right? So this Docker, it is specifically for Microsoft Azure, right? So these things they are providing. So this is the official definition. Now, if someone asks you what is ASP.NET Core, you have to tell ASP.NET Core is a modern high-performance web application deployment for .NET that runs on Windows, Linux, and Mac operating system. This is the official definition which is provided by Microsoft. ASP.NET is a popular web application development framework for building web apps on .NET platform. So here you can see ASP.NET is a popular web development framework for developing web apps on .NET platform. See, on the .NET platform, or you can see this .NET platform, they are changed that name. So guys, remember, whenever I'm saying .NET platform, you have to consider this is nothing but your .NET core platform only. So from .NET 5, they have completely removed that core branding. So from till what I can say, .NET core 4 version, right? They are keeping this branding name .NET core, right? But from 5, right, they have completely removed this branding. They have renamed this as .NET 5. So if I'm saying .NET platform means you have to consider only .NET core platform. Clear?
What is the current version of .NET then?
I'm going to show you, don't worry, what is the current version, what is the upcoming version, what is LTS, what is HTS, right? All these things I'm going to discuss, don't worry. So this is,
Sir,
and second,
.NET,
sorry,
sir, .NET platform means that is on Windows, sir.
no. So this is not .NET platform means it is not Windows. So that .NET, see guys, remember, so there are the two things you have to remember. So one is .NET framework platform, which one is the earlier one. This .NET framework is Windows centric. This is the Windows platform. But now, right, if you see, it is saying these things. So this platform means this is the thing. Clear?
Yes, sir.
.NET framework, that is Windows based. But .NET platform, this is not Windows based. It is can be your
Sir,
Windows.
what is .NET standard?
Sorry?
What is .NET standard?
.NET standard means what? What do you mean by .NET standard? I don't understand this question.
Sir, actually, it was asked to me what is in that I saw the definition on Google that .NET standard means you can actually run that this MVC means um, Razor pages, and that I saw something definition about the .NET standard.
I don't know .NET standard, but there is .NET runtime is there. I'm going to discuss this thing. Okay, please wait till
I
this.
think, sorry to interrupt. I think that .NET standard, if you are developing something, it will going to it will going to support your like legacy means that older version and the .NET Core version. So if you created any library with a .NET standard, so it will be compatible with that advanced version of .NET Core and this yeah,
Yes,
old.
yes, yes. That only I was actually told by the interviewer.
Okay, so basically what I understand is you need to create some kind of a library, or you can say DLL, which is going to be supported by both the .NET framework as well as the .NET Core. Am I right?
Yes, yes. Actually, we were doing one migration for when I was working for Honeywell. So at that time, so they were actually migrating their normal .NET MVC some of the projects to .NET Core in order to adapt to this containerization and Kubernetes, all the stuff. So in that way, some of the libraries were there actually that supporting library. So in that case, actually we found out like there is one standard version which will going to support both the cases.
So I have not right understood. Right? I have not aware about this. Definitely, I will do some R&D, right? .NET standards, right? I'm keeping this right on my note point, right? I will definitely do some research on this, and I will come with some solution. Right? Because right, even right in each batch, right, I'm also going to learn something new. It is not mandated that I always learn, right? I know all these things, right? So definitely, I'm going to learn these things and I will add these things, right? So that's fine. So I will come this one, right? What is .NET standard? How to develop, right? .NET standard library, which is going to be supported by both .NET framework as well as .NET Core. Definitely, I will take one session and I'm going to do this thing, right? Practically, and I'm going to show you. Clear? Clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So this is the official definition. What you can see, if someone asks you what is ASP.NET Core, you have to tell ASP.NET Core is a cross-platform, open-source, high-performance framework used for building modern cloud-based and internet-connected applications that run on Windows, Linux, Mac, and Docker. Right, and according to Microsoft, this is the official definition they have provided. This is another definition they have provided, and this is the another definition. Right. The ASP.NET Core is open source version of ASP.NET framework. And so earlier ASP.NET framework that is not open source, but this ASP.NET Core, this is open source, right? And this ASP.NET Core framework can run on Mac, Linux, and Windows operating system. ASP.NET Core was first released in the year 2016, and it is a redesign of earlier Windows version of ASP.NET, right? So this is the point that what you need to remember. And this is the this definition. This is I'm not providing. This is provided by Microsoft. This is my definition. Clear, guys? So whatever definition Microsoft provide,
Okay,
I
sir.
have provided with my definition. That is, it is a cross-platform, open source, high-performance framework used for building modern cloud-based and internet-connected applications that run on Windows, Linux, Mac, and Docker. Clear? And I have
Yes, sir.
also provided a link
Understand?
where you will get this information. Right? This is the definition they have provided right now. Now, why .NET? Why ASP.NET Core high performance? Right? I'm not saying this is high performance. Right? If you go to the same page, you will see that performance is the key factor. And here you can see they have provided the benchmark that right. You can see the benchmark they are saying if you are using Java Servlet, which can handle 2.20 million requests per second. With Node.js, only 0.60 million requests per second. But with .NET, you can see they can handle 7.202 million requests per second. That means how fast it comparing with Java Servlet and JS, Node.js. So this is the right what I can say a Microsoft right benchmark. Right, I'm not saying this by my own. So whatever testing they have done, They are providing this benchmark right on their official website. So we can tell this thing, right? If someone asks you how fast it is comparing to Java and other, so we can say it is more than 3, right? You can see if it is handling 2.20 million second per request, a request per second, it can handle 7 million requests per second. Clear? Yes or no?
Clear.
Yes.
Yes.
sir.
Yeah.
So the performance is the key factor, right? Now we need to understand. Yes, anyone having any question?
No.
No.
Right. So now, right, open source. See, guys, remember from the beginning, I'm saying two things that what I need to understand or you need to understand very well. One is open source and another one is cross platform. So can anybody tell me what do you mean by open source?
So open source means source code is available and we can view the source code.
So open source means we can run the application when we develop one application, which will run on any platform like Windows, Linux, or any operating system. That
That is cross.
application or software will
That
run.
is cross platform.
Yeah,
So
so
whatever you are explaining, that is
open
not
source
open
means
source.
the
That is
code is
closed.
available for everyone to watch, and they can
Exactly.
request changes or add changes to it.
They
Exactly.
can do
And
contribution.
no need to pay
Exactly.
for that.
Exactly. So that
We
is
no
it.
need to pay for.
Yes, that is free. That is free, and you do not need to pay for it, right? So basically, ASP.NET Core Framework is open source, and this is the main reason for its popularity. Entire source code of ASP.NET Core Framework is available on GitHub, right? So if you visit this link, right, then you will see right right complete source code of ASP.NET right core. Right? So all the source code is available as we progress, right? I'm going to discuss right all these things, right? You can see Windows 6, right? Installer and all these things, right? Binary, every things, right? Whatever they are provided, the source code you can easily find on GitHub. And what do you mean by open source means you can download and inspect the source code, whatever code they have. For example, right? For example, if you look right .NET framework application, we are having one method console class and one write line method. Do you know what code they have written inside the write line method? No, we don't have no idea. But with
No.
open source, whatever code they have written for the write line method, you can see. That is the meaning of open source. So source code is openly available. You can download the source code, you can modify the source code, and you can also use that modified version of the source code in your application, right? So all the aspect of a .NET Core are open source means what? Whatever the class libraries they are provided, whatever runtime means core CLR, whatever the compiler they are provided, whatever the language they are provided, whatever the web application development framework they have provided, whatever the Windows development framework they have provided, entity framework core they have provided, right? Everything is open source. As we progress, I'm also going to show you where you can find the source code of those things. If I'm using some entity framework core class libraries, where the source code is available. If I'm using some built-in class library, where the source code is available, right? All these things I'm going to discuss as we progress in this session. Means source code is openly available, right? And the one more thing, right? Now, as the ASP.NET Core is open source, even though it is provided by Microsoft, but a team of member always giving support. If you are facing some issue, they are going to give immediate resolution, right? They are working on the ASP.NET framework to make it better and better on a daily basis, right? And if you want to get more information about this open source, right, you can visit this link, right, where it is giving, right, the open source framework, and you can see more than right 1 million contributors are there, more than 3,700 companies, right, they are giving contribution to this ASP.NET Core framework. Clear? So as a developer, as a company, you can also contribute to this one, right? For example, if you are developing one built-in right library, right, which is going to do some kind of extraordinary task, you can give that library to the right ASP.NET Core team. They will verify your library, and if they feel that yes, this library is useful for others, then they can also include that library as part of the ASP.NET. That is also possible. So nowadays, more than 3,700 companies plus 1 million contributors, right? They are contributing for the development of this open source ASP.NET Core platform. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the
Yes.
right, you can see 1 million contributors and from more than 3,700 companies. This is not I am telling, this is provided in their official website. Because whatever information I'm going to provide, it should be authentic. And I'm not going to give any unauthentic information. Clear, guys?
Sir, sir, here I have a small doubt. So
Yes.
contributions in the sense, in the what form of contributions they have done? I mean,
See,
is
for
there any
example,
ideas or
exactly. See, in earlier version of entity, if you are working with entity framework, right? And whenever I'm using that bulk operations, so how the bulk operation is performed? The bulk operation is performed in earlier version of entity framework. Means if I'm going to add 10 entities, right? Then what exactly it is going to do? It is going to generate 10 SQL statement and it is going to send all these SQL statement one by one from my application to the database. But then they feel that yes, this is very bad from the performance point of view. So why I'm going to send 10 SQL statement one by one from my client application to the server application? Let us enhance this by sending all the 10 SQL statement with a single database round trip. So this kind of a contribution, if you see, yeah, this is the loophole which we can improve. You can give the solution, right? Instead of sending this 10 right SQL statement one by one. So we can write some kind of a logic where within a single database round trip, it is going to send all those 10 SQL statement to the database, which can improve the application. So this kind of a contribution you can do. Clear?
understood? So basically, they are going to give their ideas and whatever the challenges they have faced. So in upcoming versions, they will just modify and re-release that, right?
Ex- Exactly. Suppose you are using some library and you feel that yes, inside this library there is a bug. So what you need to do? You need to inform the team. I'm using this library and this library is working fine for all the function, but for this particular function, it is not working as expected. So they will do the testing. They will check what went wrong, and then they will give you the solution in the next release. Clear?
So are they going to put all those things in public? Like we got this many requests from so and so people, or there is no such thing.
Definitely, they are going to give this kind of things. Right? So 10K for right one for watching starts, right? All that information it is there. Right? As
Okay.
we progress, right? I'm going to discuss this thing. All this information, right? Open source means what? There is nothing behind the scene. Everything is open to everyone.
Okay.
Right? The next point, what we need to understand is cross-platform. So cross-platform means what? Right? If you are developing application using ASP.NET framework, so with ASP.NET framework, right? What is the right with ASP.NET framework? So the one and only. So there are two things we need to understand. One is the development,
Sir,
right?
.NET framework source code is not available only. Means this is the first time they are making available source code .NET Core.
Exactly. Okay. ASP.NET framework source code is not available. This ASP.NET Core source code is available. Like one is development, another is hosting or running point of view, right? So now if I'm asking this question to you guys, if you are developing any application using ASP.NET framework, right? It might be your right ASP.NET MVC application, right? ASP.NET MVC or ASP.NET Web API.
Web
Then
forms.
right? Then what the environment you need to use? Development environment. So development environment is it is always going to be your Windows. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
running means hosting, it is always going to be your IIS. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So this is with ASP.NET framework. Now, if I'm coming with ASP.NET Core framework, right? So in this case, you might be going to use ASP.NET Core MVC or you might be going to use ASP.NET Core Web API. So now the development environment, it is not tightly coupled with Windows. You can make use of Windows, Linux, right? Mac operating system. Now we're running, you can use IIS, Apache, right? Docker container, right? So many options now we are having, right? So this is the difference, right? Why it is possible? Because ASP.NET is a cross-platform. Platform means environment. Environment means operating system. Now we can develop the application using different operating system. Not only the development is cross-platform, but also the hosting is also cross-platform. Means what? I can use Windows operating system, IIS server, I can host my application. I can use Linux operating system, Apache server, and I can host my application. I can use cloud, and I can use Docker container on the cloud, and I can also host my application. That means ASP.NET Core Framework is cross-platform, not only from the development point of view, but also from the hosting or running point of view. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Yes or no? Is that clear?
Yes, yes, sir.
Right. So
Yes.
lightweight and modular. Lightweight and modular means what, right? So one more thing I'm telling, right? ASP.NET Core Framework is high performance. Why it is high performance? Because of this modularity. Right? High performance because of the modularity. So what do you mean by modularity? Can anybody tell me? Modularity means what? Now, whenever you develop a ASP.NET Core application, they are not going to provide any unnecessary things. Right? If you are developing ASP.NET web application, then you will see by default 10-15 DLLs are installed automatically. Right? Whether you are using those packages or not, doesn't matter. Developing application means whatever the minimum, right? Whatever the packages they have designed, all these packages are getting installed. Even though I'm not using such packages. But with ASP.NET Core, they are completely make this modularity. Means whatever your requirement, you can add them from NuGet packages. If not required, you don't need to add them. Right? For example, right, for entity framework core, right, if you want to work with entity framework core, by default they are not going to provide entity framework core DLLs. And again, for entity framework core, there are different DLLs, different packages, right? For entity framework, data provider is a separate package. Entity framework core migration is a separate packages, right? So if you are only using data provider, migration is not required. No need to install that migration package. If you want to generate the migration file, then you need to install the migration package. Again, once your migration work is done, you can remove that package, no issue. Right? So the point that you need to remember, whatever package is required, you can add them from a NuGet, and they are not going to provide any unnecessary packages. So as they are not providing any unnecessary packages, means whenever you are going to deploy your application, the size of your application is going to be less. So as the size of your application is going to be less, the application startup is going to be less. As the application startup is going to be less, so it is going to give you better performance. So unnecessary things is not there. Only whatever required, you need to install them from NuGet package, and that's it. So this is what it is following the modular and lightweight approach. So built-in dependency injection means, right, guys, remember, dependency injection is one of the most popular design pattern, which is used mostly at almost in all types of applications, right? Whether you develop a MVC application, web API application, desktop application, design pattern is one of the mandatory thing, that is dependency injection design pattern. So the good thing is that ASP.NET Core supports inbuilt dependency injection design pattern. What is dependency injection design pattern? How to implement the dependency injection design pattern? What is the different service lifetimes? How the lifetime is going to be managed by the framework? What is the container, right? So all these things I'm going to discuss. But for now, just remember, ASP.NET Core supports built-in dependency injection design pattern. So as a developer, we do not need to think too much about dependency injection, how to manage the dependency object, how to inject the object, how to create the object, how to manage the lifetime of an object. These things are going to be taken care by framework. But yes, we need to inform the framework what should be the lifetime of the dependency object and when to create the dependency object. How to create, how to manage the lifetime, that is going to be taken care by the framework. Clear? Clear or not?
Yes.
The next one is cloud ready. Yes, if you are working with ASP.NET MVC, then you cannot host that application into cloud. But with ASP.NET Core, yes, it is readily available. While you are developing the application, you can also provide support for cloud. Even if once you develop the application, you can also take the publish file and you can host the application into the Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services like cloud environment, right? That is also possible. Clear, guys? Yeah.
So can I ask about dependency injection again?
The dependency injection, again, I'm going to tell this thing in detail, right, in our coming session. So don't worry at this point of time, what is dependency injection, how to implement the dependency injection, what are the different lifetime services, right? All these things I'm going to discuss practically in our coming session. You can also check the syllabus. There is a separate chapter, 2 chapters are there where I'm going to discuss dependency injection design pattern. Now, so next thing what we need to understand is the ASP.NET Core service.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir,
Yes,
in
yes, please.
.NET Framework, we create a console application, Windows application. So in .NET Core, we don't create such thing.
Why? Who told you we can create? We can also create console application, desktop application. Is there any problem?
No, I mean the way of
There's no,
writing is different in that.
no, the process, the steps, right, the way you are creating console application in .NET framework, you can use the same right concept, same right way of writing the code. It is completely same in also in .NET Core. What is the difference? The .NET Core application is cross-platform and open source. That is the only difference thing. The way you are developing the console application, desktop application, using .NET framework, it is same way you can also develop the application using .NET Core. Clear? Even right.
Thank you.
Even I'm also going to develop right few console application to explain the concepts. Clear, guys?
And
Sir, that console application is also cross-platform.
Obviously. So cross-platform means what? Multiple operating system. You can develop the application in Windows. You can develop the application using Linux. You can develop the application in Mac. That is possible. Right?
we
So
can
that is
use
what.
that as well, right? In those OSs,
Sorry.
we can use that as well, right? In those OSs.
Yes. Now,
And
now we.
I have, yeah, I have one doubt. So I heard like it is a mobile support as well. So
Yes, yes.
what
MEUI is
kind
there.
of
MEUI is there, right? Which you can use to develop mobile application also.
what UI?
MEUI.
MUI is a framework.
Yes, yes. Similarly, the way we are developing ASP.NET Core is a framework. Similarly, that is a framework which you can use to develop mobile-based application, mobile application as well. Like Android and
Okay.
iOS, this is also one, right?
What
So,
is Xamarin?
yes, that Xamarin is also basically right. That is what I'm saying. MU means that is Xamarin. Xamarin means that is what you can use to develop, right? Mobile application.
So where we can have all the controls of DOM elements.
Yes, exactly. Right, exactly. So
Okay.
now, right, so why I'm saying because right, I'm not thinking too much about mobile application at this point. Why? Because that is not popular, right? That Xamarin framework, what I'm right, you are talking about, right? This is not that popular right now. It is for developing mobile application, but yes, they have that flexibility. You can still develop.
And
People are
sir,
nowadays right
this
more frequently using Flutter, right? So you heard the term Flutter, which they can use to develop, right? The same code base which they can use to develop Android application. They can develop iOS application. That is, they are using Flutter. And most of the right
Yes, sir.
now
Flutter,
are using.
Flutter is very, very demanding, sir. You can can develop multiple OS with
Exactly.
the help of Flutter.
Exactly. That is what I'm saying. So Flutter is more demand, right? Xamarin very right, very less number of right teams are using Xamarin.
Yeah, sir, I have one question, but I don't know whether this is the right time to ask that or not. So, with this curriculum, can we shoot, architect level positions or lead positions? If we
Obviously,
have
see,
a,
definitely
because
see.
are we need to learn any in-depth concepts? Is there any other concepts that we need to, shoot that kind of uh,
Definitely
roles?
see. I'm saying, so if you want to go in architecture level, then you should know how to handle meetings. you know what do you mean by story, what do you mean by sprint, what do you mean by scrum, right? How to prepare the PRT, how to prepare the PRT, how to design the architecture of the application, right? So these things you
Yeah.
need to be very, very clear, right?
Okay. Okay.
Development is completely different, but from architecture level means those things you should know how to handle,
Okay. Understood.
right? So now we need to understand the .NET Core, right? Policy and the release life cycle. Now, if you come to this part, right, you can see what is the current supported version. Current supported version is .NET 8 and the .NET 6. So .NET 8, you can see it was released, original release date is November 14, 2023, and right, which is going to end its support in November 10, 2026. .NET 6, you can see the release date is 2021 and it is going to be end in November 12, 2024, right? And the patch release, you can see this patch release is nothing but, right? If you are working with .NET 8 or .NET 6 and you encounter some issue, some bug, right? And you need to inform this thing to the uh, ASP.NET Core team, right? So they will figure out what is the problem, and once they figure out the problem, they will give a patch release. That means that the updated release they will give with the solution. That is what the current patch release is October 8, 2024. And one more thing you can see, the upcoming go live releases means the upcoming release. Currently, you can see .NET 9 RC1, RC2. That is for demo testing purpose on or pre-releases you can consider. So the upcoming release is going to be .NET 9. And when this .NET 9 will come into the picture, it will come into the picture in the year November 2024. Currently, we are in .NET 8 and in .NET 9, which is going to become in November 2024. And the rest of the versions which are out of support, you can see these are the different versions which are out of support. So guys, remember, so don't think that out of support means we cannot develop application using those. People are getting confused, right? Sir, out of support means we cannot develop a new application using .NET 7 or .NET 5. That is completely wrong. So out of support means they are not going to provide any kind of a support for this version. But that doesn't mean we cannot develop any application. Still, you can develop application any of this version. You can use any of this version to develop the application. But if you are facing some kind of a bug, if you are facing some kind of a issue within that version, then what will happen? They are not going to give any support for that. But if that is in active version, then they will give you a support for that version. Clear?
Sir, support in the sense, what kind of support they are going to provide?
What kind of support?
Any
That is what I'm
example?
suppose I'm using one package, right? I'm using some entity framework core package,
Okay.
right? Inside that entity framework core package, they are providing many built-in classes and built-in methods, right? Suppose one of the method is not working as expected.
Understood. Okay.
Then what they will do, you need to tell, I'm getting some issue within this method of this version of the .NET framework. So they will give you a release, they will give a patch release for that issue. And only they will
Okay.
give the release if it is in active version. If it is
Okay.
in unactive, unsupported version or the work support is ended already, then they are not going to give any support, right? Any patch or any fix for that issue. So support means any bug fixes you can consider. Similarly, suppose we are developing any project. If that project having some issue, then we are going to fix that issue and we are giving a new release to the production environment or not. The same thing is also available here. But the difference is that if that version is in supported one, then only they are going to give the support. If it is out of support, they are not going to give any support. And unless this go live release means these are the pre-releases, which is going to be live in the near future, right? And then, right, one more thing, what guys you need to remember, right? Whenever you are working with the application, right, they are providing two types of support. One is LTS, another one is STS. The LTS means the duration is 3 years. STS means the duration is going to be 18 months. So now, if you compare here, November 14, 2023, November 10, 2023. So what is the approximate duration? It is going to be 3 years. Clear? Yes or no?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
can I ask one question?
So is this question related to LTS or STS?
Uh, no, sir. The question will
Then
be like,
let me
sir.
first then let me first complete LTS STS, then I will take the question. Right now, if you look at this .NET 6, again you can see the duration is November 8, 2021 to November 12, 2024. That means the duration is 24 months. So here you can see this is going to be LTS and this is going to be STS. So here LTS means long-term support. Long-term support means a duration of 3 years. Within this 3 year, any bug is there, right? They are going to fix the bug. And coming to this one, .NET 7, .NET 5, you can see they have started in November 8, 2024 and ended in May 14, 2024. That means what is the duration? Duration is 18 months. So the point that you need to remember, so the person which is LTS, they are going to give support for 3 years. If the person is LTS, they are going to give support for 18 months. And every odd version is going to be STS and every event is going to be LTS. So here 6, 8, these are LTS. So then the upcoming 9 is a odd number. So it is going to be STS. Clear?
Yes.
Yes,
Clear
sir.
or okay? Now, anyone having any more question, they can ask.
Sir, does this mean that the person who has started with 3.1, he has to update his .NET Core framework with .NET
See, here
7?
you can see here there is no LTS, STS, right? Till this .NET Core 3.1. Why? So whenever they are introducing 3.1, at that time, our .NET Framework 4.x is in the market. So when .NET Core 3.1 was released, right, from .NET Core 1 to .NET Core 3.1, at that time, ASP.NET Framework is also in the market. But when .NET 5 they have released, right, at that time, they just make .NET ASP.NET Framework as a legacy framework. They have given very well to ASP.NET Core, ASP.NET Framework 4.x. The latest one is 4.8. After ASP.NET, after .NET Framework 4.8, there is no newer version 4.9 or 4.10. Right, and to make and here you can see after .NET Core 3.1, they have directly released .NET 5 and they also removed the brand name Core. Why? Because if they are going to release .NET 4, then you might get confused whether this is a .NET Core 5 or .NET Framework 5. If they are going to release .NET 4, right, at the next version of .NET Core 3.1, then you might be get confused whether this .NET 4 is the .NET Core 4 or .NET Framework 4. So that is the reason why they removed the .NET 4 version, right? And they also removed the brand name Core, and they have directly started with the .NET 5. And from this .NET 5, that LTS and STS will come into the picture. .NET 5 STS, .NET 6 LTS. You can see .NET 6 is LTS, .NET 7 STS, .NET 8 LTS, .NET 9 that is going to be your STS, right, which is coming in November 2024. That is going to be STS. November 10, .NET 10, that is going to be your LTS. Clear? So here it is also mentioned odd releases are STS and get a free pass for 18 months, and even numbers are LTS. They will get a free pass of 36 months.
But sir, it does not mean we can create application using .NET 4. So we create the applications using .NET 4.
So .NET 4 means what? Is there any .NET 4 in this list?
No, not in the list, but the .NET 4 in the sense .NET framework.
Yes,
will
.NET
say.
Framework means that is completely different story altogether. .NET Framework 4, there is no relation with our ASP.NET Core Framework.
But whatever the
Hello.
.NET 7 or .NET 8 has come, the backward compatibility will be there. No? Means if say somebody has developed with .NET Core 3,
Sorry?
3.0.
Yes,
So
definitely, right? So, see, all are different framework, right? Backward some compatibility means what? If you are developing .NET 8 application and if you try to run that application using .NET Core 3, it will not work because they are doing some enhancements, they are making some changes. Means what? That version is going to be compatible. Older framework version doesn't make any sense. And that makes also sense.
Hello, I have one question. Hello.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, so the framework is like .NET 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. And after the .NET 4.8, .NET Core is came in picture, and the .NET Core is like
You are getting confused.
1.0.
First of all, you are getting confused, right? .NET after .NET Framework 4, .NET Core will not come into the picture. .NET Core come into the picture in 2016. At that time, .NET Framework, .NET Framework 4.1 or 2 was there in the market when .NET Core come into the the picture. So the point that what I need to make you understand is don't compare .NET Framework version with .NET Core. Both are completely two different things. You are getting my point or not? So .NET Framework, there is no relation between .NET Framework versions and .NET Core versions. This is starting from .NET Core 1.0 till .NET 8 and that old framework, that .NET Framework, they also started with .NET Framework 1.0, 2.0 and they ended with .NET Framework 4.8. So there is no relation between our .NET Core and .NET Framework versions. Clear?
Okay, now my next question is like after the .NET Core 3.0, they have rebranded the .NET Core as .NET, right? And they directly released the .NET 5.
Yes. So you just tell me after .NET Core 3.1, if they give this name instead of a .NET 5, if they give Microsoft .NET 5, so is there any problem? So this is just a name. This is just a version name. So what is the problem with this naming? So this is they're just giving this as a name. So there is nothing else. So why they are giving this name? Because they want to remove this brand name core. So they don't want to keep that core anymore. So that is the reason why they are provided the name as .NET 5. And while .NET 5 come into the picture, at that time .NET framework is outdated.
And sir, are you going to tell you like if you are explaining any concept? So this is introduced in this particular framework, like that. That is not required. I'm just asking, like, are you going to teach in that
That is
manner or?
completely that is key. So whichever version when it is released, that actually this is useless. So what is important? Which version we are going to use to develop the application, that is important. And this page I have provided, you can go ahead and check what is the version. And in this page, keep they mentioned anywhere .NET Framework. And whenever you are going to learn ASP.NET Core, just keep that .NET Framework outside from your mind. Don't think that there is a version called .NET Framework in the market. So you are learning here ASP.NET Core means you need to keep focus on the ASP.NET Core. Yes, I'm telling this thing because you need to understand, because if you are not aware about .NET Framework, what are the different version, when this version comes into the picture, what is the last version of .NET Framework, then you will not understand this concept. And here I'm not going to explain what is .NET Framework version, when the .NET Framework introduced, what is the latest version, when it is ended, right? These things I'm not going to discuss. If you know, that is well and fine. If you don't know, then don't try to learn also, because that is outdated and we are not going to learn those things in this course. Clear? Right? So I have also provided this page, right? You can also go ahead and check whatever the versions are there. Now coming to ASP.NET Core. So what are the things they have removed from ASP.NET Core? If you are working with ASP.NET Framework application, then you will not find that global.axs class file. So this global.axs class file is replaced by program.cs class file in our application. You will not. So what is program.cs? I will show you practically what is the importance, what is the use, what are the things you need to do, everything. Web config file you will not find in ASP.NET Core application. That is going to be replaced with the application app settings.json file, app settings.environment.json file, environment variable, and other configuration files. So what are these files I'm going to discuss? So for now, you just remember there is no global.axs file. What is its replacement? I'm going to discuss in detail. There is no web config file. What is its replacement? These are the replacement. What are these files? I'm going to discuss in detail. And there is no HTTP handlers and model. So these are going to be replaced with middleware components. So what are middleware components? How to create them? How to use them? Right? What is the built-in middleware component? How to create custom middleware component? Right? All these things we are going to discuss. For now, just remember these are the things. If you are coming from a ASP.NET background, then this is useful. If you are not coming ASP.NET Core, ASP.NET background and directly you are learning ASP.NET Core after learning C#, then this section is not required because you will only get confused. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Right. So these are the things because I'm not going to explain what is global.axs class file. Right? But if you have experience in ASP.NET MVC or ASP.NET Web API, then you know what is the importance of a global access file. You know what is the importance of a app config or web config file. Right? You know what is the importance of HTTP handlers and modules. But if you don't know, that's fine. But what is my intention? I'm going to discuss what is program class file, what is app settings and environment.app settings, what are middleware components, all these things I'm going to cover. Now it is one of the important questions, right, which you have already discussed, right? What is the difference between .NET framework and a .NET Core framework, right? Most of the time, right, people are getting confused. You will also get this question in the interview, right? Now we have already discussed now. So platform. So .NET framework is specific to which platform? Guys, tell me.
Windows.
We have already discussed. And
Windows.
.NET Core is cross-platform. Is that clear? The first point is clear.
Yes, sir.
So architecture means monolithic means by default it is going to include all the features. Whenever you create a program or a project, many functionalities are going to be provided to us by default, even though we are not using those functionality. And .NET Core architecture is modular. So whatever package you need, you only need to download those packages from Newton. Unnecessary by default, they are not going to give you any package. Performance, the performance is not that optimized, right? Because it is based on the older architecture, and the performance of a .NET Core is highly optimized, and it is right. And the support of a development means currently .NET framework is in the maintenance mode. Means what? No new versions, no new enhancement, only bug fixes and security updates. And with .NET Core, I have already told you 1 million contributor and 3,700 companies, right? They are contributing, right, for the development of this framework. That means it is completely open source, and this framework is open source. No, it is not open source, right? And use cases. So this, if you want to develop some application which is tightly coupled with Windows ecosystem, means we don't want to develop the application using Linux, Mac, or other operating system. We don't want to host our application anything where rather than Windows and IIS. Then in that case, right, you can consider using a .NET framework. Even right, even it is also recommended. Even that is also if your requirement that you want to develop Windows. Based right, if you want to host your application on Windows, if you want to develop the application using Windows, then also it is recommended to use .NET Core, because that is what we are achieving with .NET framework. The same thing we can also achieve here, but with more modularity, more optimized and cloud-ready application. So the point that you need to remember, if you are having some existing application that is in the maintenance mode, then you can go with the right .NET framework. Any new application, you need to go with the .NET Core, and also try to right migrate your old version of .NET framework application into ASP.NET Core. Clear? Clear or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now people are getting confused, right? So people are getting confused. Right? So guys, remember, so now onwards, as I have already told you, right? So .NET Core and .NET meaning is same. So if I'm saying .NET means what? It is only .NET Core, right? So they have removed the core branding from .NET version 5. So sometimes I'm going to refer this as .NET, or if I'm going to refer this as .NET Core, you have to understand the meaning is same. So .NET Core, you can also consider this as .NET. Now people are getting confused. Sir, what is the difference between this .NET Core and ASP.NET Core? So before understanding this concept, right, if I ask you this question, sir, what is the difference between ASP.NET and right, what I can say? Okay, so I'll come to this part later. So what is the difference between this one, .NET Core and ASP.NET?
So, to my understanding, I think .NET Core is the environment for building a modern application, while the ASP.NET Core is a framework for building those applications.
Exactly. So this is the runtime environment. So this is the runtime environment where ASP.NET Core applications will run. Clear? So this is the runtime environment where ASP.NET Core application will run. And what is this ASP.NET Core? This is the web application development framework. Right? Web application development framework using which we can develop web applications. Clear, guys? And to understand this thing clearly, right, let us have a look at this diagram. So this is the first diagram what I'm showing. It is our .NET framework. And the second diagram what I'm showing here, it is our ASP.NET Core diagram, right? So first of all, you need to have one operating system. So if you are working with the ASP.NET framework, then the operating system should and must be Windows. Clear? Clear or not?
Understand?
Yes, sir.
And coming to ASP.NET Core application, the operating system can be your Windows, Linux, and Mac. Anyone. Clear? This point is clear. What is the operating system in ASP.NET framework? The operating system is going to be Windows, and for .NET Core, the operating system can be anyone, right? Windows, Linux, and Mac. So on top of the operating system, right? If I want to run, right? So for example, I have developed one application. For running this application, I need the runtime environment. So this runtime environment, right, it's going to be .NET or you can say .NET Core. In case of, right, what I can say, .NET Core platform. And in the case of ASP.NET framework, it is going to be .NET framework. So here, .NET framework is nothing but your runtime environment. And here, .NET Core is nothing but your also runtime environment. So using this .NET framework, whatever I'm using here, it is specific to the Windows operating system. Guys, please try to observe. So this .NET framework, it is specific to the Windows operating system. You cannot install this .NET framework on Linux or Mac operating system. This is the reason why this is Windows specific. So if you are using .NET framework, then it should be operating system is going to be Windows and the server is going to be IIS. And on top of this .NET framework, your ASP.NET web applications are going to be run. So you can develop ASP.NET MVC web application. You can develop ASP.NET web forms application. You can run your ASP.NET web API application, right? Any application you develop using ASP.NET framework, those applications are going to be run on top of the .NET framework. This is the runtime environment where the ASP.NET web applications are going to be run, and this .NET framework, it is completely or it is tightly coupled with your Windows operating system. This is the reason why it is not cross-platform and it is tightly coupled with the Windows operating system. Now coming to the second part here, the operating system can be anything. If the operating system can be anything, then this .NET Core, is it specific to any operating system? No. So there are multiple versions of this .NET Core runtime environment is available. If you are going to use Windows operating system, then you need to install .NET Core for Windows. If you are going to use Linux operating system, then you need to install .NET Core for Linux. If you are going to use Mac operating system, then you need to install, right, .NET Core runtime for the Mac operating system. And on top of this operating system, sorry, on top of this .NET Core runtime environment, you can host your right ASP.NET Core web application. Some applications developed with the ASP.NET Core MVC, ASP.NET Core Web API, right? Ledger Pages, Blazor application. All these applications you can run on top of this .NET Core right platform, or you can say this is the runtime environment which will support the cross-platform. Now, so because of this .NET, as the .NET Core is cross-platform, as the .NET Core is available for different types of operating system, now our application can run on different operating system. So this is the reason why ASP.NET Core is cross-platform. Is that clear?
Yes.
Right. And guys, one more thing that what you need to remember, if you want to run the application, you only need to install, right, on the production environment, on the production server. Are we going to develop the application or are we going to run the application only?
Run the
Run the
application.
application.
So if you are only going to run the application, you can only install .NET Core runtime environment, right? So you can only install the .NET Core runtime environment on the production server, but on your local machine. You want to only run the application, or you also want to develop the application.
Obviously, develop the
Develop
application.
as well.
So if you are going to develop the application, right, then what you need to do, you need to install .NET Core SDK. So once you install .NET Core SDK, the core affects the class libraries along with the .NET runtime environment. Both are going to be installed on your machine. So this .NET Core SDK, it provides you support for not only development, but also it will install the .NET Core runtime, which is going to run your application. But on production environment, you can simply run this .NET Core runtime. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you how you can install .NET Core SDK for different operating system with different version, and how you can also independently install this .NET Core runtime, right? And what is the latest version at this point? The stable latest version is .NET 8. And coming to ASP.NET Core, the same. Same means whatever the version latest, the same latest version is .NET 8, right? And you can develop, right, different kind of applications using ASP.NET, such as MVC, Web API, Ledger Pages, etc. And there is no separate versioning for ASP.NET Core. So whatever the version for .NET Core, the same version for is there for ASP.NET Core. So the fundamental thing that what you need to run is, remember, is .NET Core is the runtime environment, or you can say the platform where the applications developed using ASP.NET Core framework is going to be run. So ASP.NET Core is the open source cross-platform framework using which we can develop different types of web applications, such as MVC applications, Web API services, Ledger Pages application, Blazor applications, and whatever applications we developed using ASP.NET Core framework. For running those applications, we need this .NET Core runtime environment. So this .NET Core runtime is going to provide the CLR, or which is in .NET Core we are calling them as core CLR. That core CLR is responsible for running our application. How to run the application, what is the execution point, how the program is compiled, how the source code is compiled into MSIL code, how the MSIL code is converted into binary code or byte code, what is the job of JIT compiler or UJIT, right? All these things we are going to discuss in our tomorrow session. So tomorrow is the last demo session, and I'm going to discuss, right, what is the code execution process of our ASP.NET Framework application, and what is the code execution flow of our .NET Core application. Going to discuss, and I'm also going to discuss, right, what are the changes they have made, right? What changes they have done to the compiler, what changes they have done to the CLR, what changes they have done to the class library project, right? All these things we are going to discuss. So once we have discussed this thing, then I will show you how to install the .NET Core SDK, .NET 8 SDK into your machine based on your operating system, and then I will start developing application using Visual Studio 2022. Clear, guys? Now, if anybody having any question, they can ask me now. And if anyone join new in today's session who have not joined yesterday's session, they can also ask the question now.
Sir, I have one question. Can we deploy our code in Azure also?
Yeah, that is what I have already discussed now. So whatever I'm saying,
Okay.
Docker, right? So that Docker I'm providing
Docker.
here,
Okay.
right? So that Docker means it is going to provide the support for, right, what I can say, Azure,
So
Microsoft
Docker is
Azure.
part of Azure.
Yes, yes, this is the container, na?
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And
So
sir, you said it's the open source, right? With the open source, we don't have to pay anything, right? So
you do not
can
need
we
to pay.
create one application and host it with zero charges?
Hey, for hosting the
Or
application, you need to pay, na? See, for developing the application you need to use .NET SDK or whatever. For that, you do not need to pay. But do you think that if I'm going to use some kind of a server, right, for hosting the application, you need a server. So do you think that they are going to give you free services for hosting your application? Suppose
okay,
I'm
for
going
that
to use
only we have to pay,
obviously
right?
that for that
And
purpose you need to pay.
it is supposed to work with the Visual Studio Code as well, right? Then what things it won't support in Visual Studio Code? Why we have to use Visual Studio 2022?
See, so that is what I'm going to discuss. See, there is nothing called support, what not support, right? So basically, there are different versions. You can use, right, Visual Studio, Ultimate Visual Studio, right? There are three different versions. What is I'm going to show you tomorrow. So based on this, you need to pay, right? But as a student, right, Ultimate, I think that is completely free and it provide you all the supports. For development, right, what are the functionality feature you require? But while you are hosting, this is not required. Visual Studio is not required. Even without using Visual Studio, also you can develop the .NET Core application using Visual Studio Code. So we are using Visual Studio because we
So
are
Visual
acquainted with
Studio
Visual
Code
Studio.
also, with Visual Studio Code also we can install all the nugget packages and all.
Yes, yes, yes. Everything is possible, right?
Okay.
Why I'm saying because see, we can install Visual Studio on our Windows operating system. Those who are working with Mac, they cannot install Visual Studio. They have to use Visual Studio Code, right? So that is
Okay.
also possible, right? So Visual Studio, so for Visual Studio, you need to pay. But for all Visual Studio, different versions are there. All versions are not going to be a red paid version. Some of them are free. For some of them, you need to pay. And that fee, what you are paying, that is not for right .NET Core SDK. That is for the editor what you are using.
Okay.
Clear? Yes.
Sir,
Sir, after this
I have one
session,
question just related to this only. Can we run .NET 8 applications in Visual Studio 2019 or Visual Studio 2017? Either it can be Ultimate, Professional, or anything, but
No,
I want to know the relation between the .NET Core
that
versions and the
is
Visual
possible.
Studio.
No. So that is not possible. If you want to develop
Not
.NET
possible.
8, you have to install .NET Visual Studio 2022. Although they are not supporting.
So there is a relation between these two as well.
Yes, yes. See, with Visual Studio 2022, you can run older .NET Core versions. I mean,
Yeah,
if
but
you develop the application 5, 6, 7, 8, that's fine.
right.
But if you are using older version of Visual Studio, you cannot install, right, run the newer version of a .NET Framework application. You cannot do
Okay.
that. Right.
sir, is this document is available after the class?
Sorry?
The current document you are giving is available in the class after the class.
I'm not getting your question.
This
He is asking
document
like
is
this
asking, this
document is
document.
available after this class.
See, this document I will provide, yes, after the session, right? I will provide the recorded session along with this document because until and unless I'm not providing this documentations, right? How you will do the practices? How you will remember the things? How you will prepare yourself for the interview, right? How you will right, recognize the things? This document, what I'm preparing, the same document, whatever I'm using here, the same document I will share with you guys, right? And most of the time, I'm going to use, right? Pictorial representation, theoretical representation, right? And all these things, right? Someone asking it's a mobile app. So you can see .NET maybe you can use, right, to develop the mobile applications. Right? So all these things I'm going to share with you all guys. But yes, this demo session, these are free sessions, right? And once the demo sessions are completed, then only those who enroll for the right live enroll for the training, they will only get the documentation and recordings. And this documentation and whatever, right, I'm preparing and whatever I'm showing, this is also not available on my website. So on my website, you will see the old documents, right? Whatever I have written before 2 years or 3 years, those documents you will see. Updated one, the correct one, the more detailed one, you will not find. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So, and guys, please take a screenshot of this page. Those who wants to enroll for the training, they can make the payment. Very few seats are left, and tomorrow is the last demo session, and I don't think there will be any seat left for the tomorrow demo session. But yes, as I have promised, tomorrow is also going to be a demo session, and those who wants to confirm their seat, they have to make the payment. The payment screenshot is there, right? They can use these details and make the payment one. And once you make the payment, please share the payment screenshot to me, and your seat is going to be confirmed, right? And guys, remember, whatever, right? For example, whatever the number of chapters I have provided, each chapter I'm going to discuss in detail, right? Starting with in process hosting, out of process hosting, right? What is IIS, what is W3WP, what is IIS HTTP application code, ASP.NET Core module, what is the use of these files, right? How the application code is going to be processed, how it receives the request, right? All these things I'm going to discuss, right, in detail, in practical, right? All these things. Not only I'm going to provide theoretical, I'm also going to discuss how you can do all these things, right? Pictorial representation, practical implementation, code, everything I'm going to share, right? And this documentation, whatever I have prepared, it is only for you guys, right? I'm going to discuss what is Kestrel web server, how Kestrel web server is working, right? What is the importance of a Kestrel web server, how this Kestrel web server makes other web servers to work, what is interfacing web server, what is the internal web server, why there is a two web server, two web server is going to give you better performance, or one web server is going to give you better performance, when to use one web server, when to use two web server, everything I'm going to discuss. So these are the things, right? These are the things which is required, right, from architectural point of view. Even if you don't know this thing, that's fine. Knowing what is happening behind the scene will give you more clarity. Do you know how to verify which web server is running my application? How you can verify this thing? I'm going to show you this thing, right? This is the web server which is processing my application code. How you can verify, right? All these things I'm going to discuss. How to use .NET Core CLI. What do you mean by CLI commands, right? What are the CLI commands they are providing? Everything I'm going to discuss. Clear?
So
Sir,
in
there
this
is, sir, there
2022 version,
so there is any possibility to start any Azure classes as well? Because whenever, as a parallel, when we complete the .NET Core and we also complete the Azure, so we are good for an interview.
See that. So whatever you are saying, that is fine. But the thing is that I'm also working professional, right? I cannot say first time I'm taking two sessions. Always, right? I have only taking one session per day. That is morning 6:30 to 8:30, because from 10 to 7 is my office timing. And right after 7, right? I'm starting this evening batch for the first time. So currently, I don't have that much of time to take Microsoft Azure. But yes, one of my colleague, right, who is a very good, right, what I can say, experienced guy, right. I'm discussing with him, right. We are planning to start Microsoft Azure, right, in January. And
Okay.
again,
But
see,
sir,
so why I'm saying, so
like,
the way I'm explaining the concept, I'm preparing the documentations, right? I want, if I'm giving this job to someone else, he should do, or he should deliver in the same manner, right? People are,
yeah,
right,
exactly, sir.
contacting,
Exactly.
contacting me, right? And they're also asking me, give a chance. Because if I'm not sure, right, before giving the, right, the task to someone else, I'm also going to take the interview. I'm also going to do some 1 hour or 2 hour discussion related to the concept. First of all, I need to satisfy myself that he is able to do the task or not. If he is unable to, if as an experienced guy, if he is unable to explain me the concept, then how he can explain to the newers, right? So,
Like
and
we need
one
that
of my,
what you are teaching in depth in .NET Core. So like that in depth, we need Azure, all the things
exactly,
in depth.
exactly. That is the reason why. I'm not going to give that task to any random guy, right? Because that is the reason why Microsoft Azure definitely if he is not starting, then definitely once this batch is completed, I will start Microsoft Azure. Because currently why I'm saying, because I cannot start randomly the sessions. So for preparing the session, right, I need to prepare myself for few times, right? Why I'm taking this session? Because I have taken 5 to 6 batches of ASP.NET Core, so I know this concept very well. So I can start and I can deliver the things. And for each session, I'm going to provide the documentation, going to give the examples, the different examples, right? If those work joining my this batch already completed my previous batch, they will see the difference, right? Whatever examples, whatever explanation I'm providing, whatever documents I'm providing in each batch, in each session, the document, examples, explanation is going to be different one. And different one in the sense enhancement one, right? Whatever example I'm giving, I want to modify the example. I want to give a better real-time example so that you will feel the difference, right? You will understand the concept in a easier way. So that is what my agenda, right? But now, yes, right, guys, anyone having any more question, they can ask me now.
So morning, which course is going on?
Again, morning ASP.NET Core is going on. 60 to 70% syllabus was completed.
Okay. And sir, we will cover performance also for the .NET Core applications.
I'm not going to say that is one of the see, whenever I'm going to develop the application, right? I'm going to discuss what is best performance oriented application, right? How you can, for example, what is the use of a count, when to use count, when to use any method, when to use any async method, right? So many small things, right? But they will make you impact, right? So performance oriented means I'm going to discuss. I'm developing the application. What is the time it is taking? How we can improve the application performance, right? Performance is the mandatory, security is the mandatory thing. These two things I'm going to keep in mind while I'm developing the application code. See, so whatever examples I'm going to develop, it is as per the industry standard only. Performance oriented, security best practices, and that's it. These are the two things that what I always keep in mind. And yes, of course, whatever the business logic, that is the things that what we need to achieve.
Okay. And sir, whether you had any microservices classes also in the past, or you are going to take in future?
Microservices classes, right? One of my colleagues is taking currently, right? Another batch is going to be starting December.
Okay.
Sir, for example,
So currently,
right,
you said that one of the classes ongoing for microservices. So is that in the morning or what time?
So it is in the evening. Again, that is also 8:30 to 10.
So then it will be conflict, right?
Right? But once that batch completed, we are going to start that microservices in the morning, right? So that microservices batch, that is also completed 70 to 80%, right? Only 20-25% is remaining, which is going to be completed in 1 month. And then mostly in the December first week, we are going to start a new microservices batch. In January, we will start Microsoft Azure. In December, we are going to start microservices.
Okay.
But before microservices and Microsoft Azure, you need to be very clear about ASP.NET Core.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Any new guys join today? If they want to ask anything, they can ask.
yeah, yes, sir. Right now I have an application. Within that application, we are using .NET Framework 4.8, and the technology we are using the ASP.NET. Within this ASP.NET, we have a files web.config and global.ajax files. So as of now, it's fine. So now I want to migrate, upgrade this application from .NET Framework 4.8 to .NET 8.0. Okay. In this scenario, I need to upgrade the framework and also the.
See, so again, right? Already I have discussed this thing yesterday also, today also. So I'm going to show you this thing practically. So I have given this global.ax file, webconfig file, this handler and models. These are not available in .NET Core, right? So if you are having old framework application, ASP.NET, right, framework application, and you want to migrate it to ASP.NET Core, then how to do this? That is what practically I'm going to show. Right? Yesterday someone asked, I have already given the answer. Today also in the live session, someone asked, I have already given this thing. Right? Practically, I'm going to show this thing. Clear?
Okay. Okay.
But
But
they have
now,
removed that startup.cs file in that 2022, correct?
yes, yes. From .NET 6, there is no startup file. Only program.cs class file is there. So that is the reason why, as we are going to learn, right, .NET 8, so there is no startup class. Only program.cs class file is there.
Because in I think this 3.1 or 2.1, I think it was
Yes, yes. From
startup.cs
5,
where we have.
from yeah, from .NET 5 to .NET 6, right? They have removed that startup file. Earlier, we have two files. One is program.cs, one is startup.cs. They are right. Then later from .NET 6, I think, right? They have removed, right, merged these two things into a single class file. That is program.cs.
Yes, from .NET 6, we have removed.
Okay. So all those that add singleton, add scoped, and yeah, all those things will be in that program.cs, okay? Or
Yes, yes.
how
In
it will be
the program.cs class file.
Just would like to know that as we join this course, are we going to get the C# advanced course videos as well, sir?
Yes, I have already informed that, right? Those who will enroll for this batch, right? They will get access to my C# right session. Right? Few guys, right? They have requested me. Today I have added them to this group. So this is the C# right advanced session group where you will get all the right details about C# training. Right? So many guys are there. They have already joined into this group. So you will get all the information.
Sure,
So
thank you.
is there any one is C# and one is advanced C#? I think we are
Yes,
showing.
yes, yes, there is nothing called C# and advanced C#. For me, everything is same, right? So why I'm saying advanced, right? The reason is, right, for example, right, I'm asking one question to you. So, right, if I'm creating a class without any constructor, then does compiler going to provide a default constructor?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can you prove this?
Can you?
Prove this to me. Can you prove this that this is the default constructor which is provided by the compiler?
I'll do some.
I didn't get that question.
Right, so that is what I'm saying. No? So for example, okay, let me develop one application. Let me create a .NET Framework application, right? Create a new project. Right. So this is my class, the public class. All right. Let me give this as employee class. Right. So inside this employee class, I have created some public string name property. So public string. Right, get under set name. So I'm having another problem name and IT. Let assume these two things are there, right? Now inside this class, I'm creating an instance of an employee object. So in this case, right, do you have any constructor in the employee class?
No.
Yes, we do.
So as a developer, we are not providing any constructor. Means what? So this is what? So here we are calling one method. Yes or no? This is nothing
Yes.
but your method symbol or not?
Yes.
So if I'm so constructor, so in this case, right, this is nothing but your constructor calling. So the way we are calling a method with that name, if we are providing that class name means it is a constructor, constructor means it is also a method. So now in this case, there is no no developer given constructor, no developer given constructor, right? So what it means?
Default
It means
constructor.
compiler provided constructor will be there. Clear? If as a developer we are not
Default
providing any
constructor.
constructor, then compiler provided constructor that will be the default constructor will be there. Default constructor means parameterless constructor, right?
Non-parameter.
Right? Default constructor will be there. So my question is, right? Those who know, that's fine. So my question is, Can you prove this? Can you show me that the different constructor in this employee class?
ILDSM will
So
show
we
this.
can only
We can compile this program and then we can
Yes.
see
Just
this
show.
constructor in the ILDSM.
Exactly.
yes,
So this
yes,
is
yes,
what I'm
yes.
going to discuss, right? So you have to compile this project, right? So I have compiled this one, right? Then you need to check what is the DLL, where the DLL is created, right? So this is the path. What is that DLL? So this is my exe file, right? So then what you need to do, copy this path, right? Open that command prompt. Right, type here ILDASM. What is that issue? Okay.
Spelling.
They have mixed.
That exe, right?
Yes, executable, yes.
Right. Now, if you open this one, then this is my program class. Just open this. Is there any CTR?
Yes.
Yes,
CTR
the
or not?
constructor.
This is CTR, right? Right. This is the program class constructor, right? So in the program class, we are not providing any constructor. Means the compiler provided a constructor is there, and the main. This is a method, and you can see the main method is there. So now coming to the employee class. So in employee class, you can also find one CTR. CTR means constructor, and the void.
Yes.
Void means the return type is void, and this constructor also
Void.
doesn't take any parameter. So void, void and parameterless constructor is provided. So this kind of thing I'm going to
Yes.
explain. So here you can see I have provided two properties. So what is the use of a properties? Are the properties going to write what exactly the use of a properties?
To perform validation, like if needed,
Right, properties are
before
data
assigning to
transfer
a
operations,
variable.
To
right?
store
So
data.
right, so they are basically used to transfer the data, right? So is there any who is going to hold the value? Are the property is going to hold the value, or behind the property there is a variable? If there is a variable, what is that variable?
Value. So this
Right,
dot name something.
right. So here you can see get ID, get name, set ID, set name, right? So these are the variables, which is right. You can see the ID is the variable and name is the variable, right? Here you can see that ID is a private variable, name is a private variable. So integer 32, string 32. So these ID name, these are the properties, and these are the set accessor and get accessor, right? So all these things, right? I'm going to show you practical. What do you mean by get underscore ID? What do you mean by set underscore ID? What is ID? What is name, right? All these things, right? I'm going to explain, right? So this is the reason why it is called an advanced C#. For example, if you are going to learn multi-threading, so multi-threading means what is semaphore, what is right thread class, what are the different constructors are there, what do you mean by callback function, right? When to use multi-threading, everything I'm going to discuss not only by giving the example, but also what is happening behind the scene. That is what also I'm going to discuss. This is the reason why I'm saying this is an advanced. Advanced means the same concept, but what is happening behind the scene, that behind the scene story also I'm going to discuss. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anyone having any more question, guys?
Sir, how long
Voice
this
is
course is
voice
going to take,
voice
sir?
is not clearly audible to me.
When advanced C# classes are going to start?
Sorry. I'm not getting your voice properly. Right? So
When advanced C# classes are going to start?
but in the near future, I don't have such planning to start advanced C# systems. Because as I already told you, one batch minimum 5 months. So minimum 5 months I'm going to take for this batch. So in the next 5 months, there is no such planning for right advanced C#. Right? But the good thing is that whoever enroll for this training, they will get my right advanced C# recorded sessions. Right? So you can see LinQ. I have created 60 chapters for LinQ, parallel LinQ, right? All these videos you will get.
Sir, please add us also in this. We are yet to we are
Sorry.
we are not in this group. I'm not in that group.
Right, so I have not added, right? So those who have already
Okay.
made the full payment, right? Few guys are requested. I have added them. The rest of the guys, right, who have already made the full payment, they can, send me the message
Okay.
in the Telegram. I will add them.
Okay, after full
Sir,
payment. Okay.
I paid the complete fees and I'm still not added. I also
I'm
messaged
saying,
you.
I have not. See, I have not added anyone yet. You guys are requested me. I have added them, right? Those who are right in a hurry, because even today itself, right, I have not created the paid Telegram group for this batch, right? So I'm going to create a different batch for this training right program. So currently I have not created. So once I created, then everything I will be shut down, right? So those whoever made the full payment, I will add them to that C# training right group. Even if someone interested to complete the session right in quick time, then also I'm going to give access, right, to one of my completed batch, right? So this batch is completed, right? One guy is joined today, right? So similarly, if someone interested, then also I'm going to give access, right? So that is possible.
Okay. Only after giving the full payment, then only we will
Yes,
add
yes,
the
that
in
makes sense.
C#
Why?
batch.
Because yes, and that makes sense. Why? Because earlier what happened with partial payment, I have allowed them, and what they done, what they did is exactly after 1 month or 2 months, they just tell me we are not interested anymore. So what I will do?
Okay.
So that is the reason
So,
why.
but we get the recorded session of the core. No, sir.
Yes, yes. See, whatever. See, here
Okay.
you can currently two batches are going on, right? So this is my right ASP.NET Core morning session, right? Which is going on in the morning, right? So today I have taken one session automapper. Yesterday I have discussed, right, what are the different HTTP methods, right? So this is the recorded session and the corresponding documentation I'm going to provide, right, on a daily basis. So you will get the documentations, you will get the recorded session, right? Whoever enroll for the training, they will get. So for example, today's session, it is a demo session. I'm going to provide to everyone. But once the main session start, right, then only the paid members are going to get those sessions. So please take a screenshot of this one, right? Whoever wants to right confirm their seat, please make the payment as soon as possible and send me the screenshot, because very few seats are left. Clear?
Sure, sir.
Pranay, I wanted to ask one query.
Yes.
Pranay, like most of the time because I have kids, so I won't be able to attend the live session. So would it be possible, like if I have any query regarding the session, so how can I ask it? Like
Yeah, that is what I'm saying, right? Yesterday also I have right explained this concept, right? So after watching the recorded session, if you are having any queries, then what you need to do, you have to join the live session. Once the session ends, for example, in today's class, right? Once whatever
okay,
the topics I have decided, once those topic I explained, right? Then I'm going to take the class, right, question related to the previous session as well.
okay, okay, sure.
So for answer, for asking the question, anyhow you have to join the session. And that is only once the current topic, whatever I have planned, that topic once covered. Clear?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Pranay.
Yes. Anyone having any more question, guys?
So not a question, one request. This is out of context. So you have I ping the same thing on WhatsApp also. You have the portal .NET Learning. So
Yes.
left hand side where the topics are listed, we don't have that scroll bar. So what happens like when we are reading the content, we are scrolling down. And again, if you want to see the topic, this thing. So again, if you want to go to the top to see the topic, so we have to again scroll up. So left hand side topic list, maybe we can add one scroll bar if it is
So,
doable.
right. So intentionally, I'm not providing that one. Why?
Mhm.
Because as much as you scroll up and down, right, you will see more ad. If you will see more ad, I will earn more.
Okay.
Right, so that is apart from joke, right? So the thing is that this website is developed using, right, something called WordPress,
Yeah.
right? And the
Okay.
plugin what I'm using for this is Lifter LMS. So that Lifter LMS plugin doesn't have that functionality,
No, okay. So not doable. Okay.
right? So that functionality is not there. So that is the reason why, right? I'm
Okay.
unable. Yes, what I can do is I can make this as right collapse and
Plus
expand. That
minus
means
collapse expand. Yeah.
plus and a minus symbol. That's what
Yeah.
I can do.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that,
Okay,
that's
sir.
intentionally I'm not doing that. Why? Because I want people to see whatever the topics right are there, so that right the chance of getting more and more views will be there.
Actually, okay. Actually, what
Right?
happens when we are scrolling down? Now again, I want to see something under oops. So again, I have to go up.
Yes. Yeah,
Sometimes we
I
have to
can.
click on the previous topic again to refer back the previous. So it's very difficult.
No, no. Previous button is there, no?
No, sometimes like two topics back I have to go, not the exact immediate previous, like 2 topics back or 3 topics back, something to refer.
You may open 2, 3 tabs as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
doing.
what I
That's
do.
what I'm doing. Yeah,
And
actually.
suppose that
Because
plugin,
that's the
right?
easiest way. I do in the same
Hmm.
way itself.
Yeah, I am also doing the same, but that is also sometimes becomes clumsy
I
kind of. Yeah.
I can understand, but the
Understood.
thing is that right that plugin what I'm using, right, that is not providing that support. Right, so that scroll bar is not there. Scroll bar is right for this total whole page, right? The number of
Yeah.
times the scroll bar is here, but the scroll bar is not available for this one, right? Okay, so I'll think about it, right? Is there
Yeah.
any customization I need to do?
Okay.
And, I'll think about it.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, anyone any more questions, guys? Anyone having any more question?
No, I think it's 11. This would.
No, no. See, these are the demo sessions, so the time will be a little more. Why? Because I have to clarify all the questions and the doubts, right? Once the main session started, right, the duration is going to be 2 hours. So I have provided 1 hour 30 minutes on the my website, but ideally it is going to be 2 hours. So why I'm saying 2 hour? Because 90 minutes I'm going to cover the concept. Minimum 30 minutes, definitely I'm going to get a more and more number of questions from you guys. So I have to explain those things. So total duration minimum is going to be 2 hours. So and that is what my minimum duration, right? Even the morning bus what I'm taking, right? It is also going to be 2 hours. Okay. So if no one having any questions, so we can stop the session. Does anyone having any question for the last time?
Yes, sir. One question.
Yes, please.
So, how long this course going to take? Like, when is it going to end? Any approximate idea?
So 5 months, I have
In which
already
month?
given 5 months, 4 months for the training, right, and 1 month for the complete real-time application development. So 5 months is the duration.
Okay, okay. Yeah, around March or February something.
So,
So I
do
don't
we
know.
get any assignments after the topics just
So
for the
no
practice
assignment,
purpose?
right? So earlier I have given assignment, but out of 100 people, only 1 or 2 people are doing the assignment. That is the reason why I don't have any right faith on you guys, right? That you are going to do the assignment, and even right, I don't have that much of time to check your assignment. Right? But yes, whatever example, right? So see, whatever examples you are going to develop, right? These are not going to be simple examples, right? So these are going to be very, very complicated examples. So for this, so whatever practices we are going to do, right? You just need to do the practices, that's it, right? For example, right? I'm going to develop this kind of applications, right? So for example, in the step one, I will ask you to enter the first name and last name. When you click on the next button, it will ask. So here you can scroll bar, it is on step 2. Here it will ask to select the month, date, and year. Here you need to select the gender. Here, right, they're similar to the Gmail. So here you can create your own email address, or you can also create the suggestions, right, which is provided by the system, right? So this kind of applications we are going to develop. And here you can see you need to select the country, you need to provide the mobile number, and here it is going to validate the mobile number based on the country code. So here you can verify the mobile number, recover email, right? This kind of applications we are going to develop, and you need to do practices. Right? So once you do practices, only you will get the clarity. For example, we are going to develop one block management application. Right? So here you can see, here you can sort the data, filter the data, create a new post, whatever post you have created, right? Here you can see, you can view, edit, delete, right? All these things are there. Here you can see pagination is there. You can provide comment. All these things are there, right? For example, I'm going to develop something called this kind of application, library management application, where the admin can give this book to some student, and when the book is available, then only you need to provide this book to some student. Here you can provide, edit the details, you can add a new book, you can edit a book, you can delete a book not found, you can provide this book to someone. Once someone books takes this book, he can return the book, right? All this functionality I'm going to develop, right? And for these things, right, there is no what I can say, uh, task I need to give, right? What I can do, what you can do is, whatever example, whatever applications we are going to develop, you can enhance them, right? So completely, so these are the real time scenarios, right? So whatever example I'm going to develop, it is going to be on based on the real time only, right? For
The
example,
Telegram group for
sorry.
the Telegram group for this batch has not been created yet, right, sir? Telegram group
No,
for this batch.
no, I have not
Okay,
yet
okay.
created.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Right? So you can see every example, right? You can say, I'm not going to create a simple class where two, three fields are there. So example, you can say first name, last name, email, date of birth, joining date, gender, street, city, state, right? Postal code, job title, right? Department ID, salary, skill set, right? Password, confirm password. Right? So complicated examples I'm going to give, right? Don't think that I'm going to give you some kind of a simple example. So the examples are going to be realistic, right? So that you can feel, yes, this is very similar to my real time scenarios or real time applications. So such kind of applications I'm going to develop, right? So something
Okay.
like this, how you can implement client side validation, server side validation, right? So here you can see how you can take the basic details of an employee, how you can take the address, how you can take the job details, employee account confirmation, right? So once the employee account is created, how you can display the successful page, right? How, what are the, right, what I can say, DLLs you need to install, how to install these DLLs, how to, right, what are the entities that you need to create, how you can define the enums, how you can define the relationship between the entities, right? All these things I'm going to discuss. Let's see the examples, whatever I'm developing in front of you, you only need to practice those examples, and that is more than enough.
Sir, in this course, are you going to show payment gateways, how we can do that, how we can implement?
So what I can tell you is, right, I cannot develop any complete payment gateway, but yes, right. So I'm going to develop something similar to payment gateway, right? So that makes sense because PG, for that to implement, right, we need the PG, actual PG, which we cannot get at no cost, right? For that purpose, we need to buy. So we need to pay for them. They will provide the kit. They will provide the documentation, right? How to implement the PG, and then only we can going to pick. But apart from that, rest of the things, right? How to implement the PG? What are the things you need to consider? How to make the payment gateway? How to create the payment table, payment details table? How to create the transactions, right? All the things, right? We are going to develop,
Okay.
right? Clear, guys? Right. So,
Yes.
Hi, sir. Yeah, hi, sir.
so
Yes, sir.
yeah, something like employee portal management. We are going to develop this kind of application. This is the right index page, right? Then I'm going to provide you the create page, right? You can see the emojis there. Proper validations are going to be there. Once the employee created successful this page, this is the employee details page. Here you can update, delete, and back to list page. Here you can update the data. Here you can delete. The before delete, you need to provide this kind of a confirmation message, right? So this kind of applications I'm going to develop, and this is not only the right, what I can say, uh, what I can say, this is the UI, but also the practical implementation also I'm going to provide. Right? So how to create these views, how to create the controller's action method, validations, right? All these things I'm going to provide. So you can say one document is going to be 30 pages, 40 pages, something like this. 30 pages. So all these things, right? Whatever application I'm going to develop, I'm going to share with you all guys. Yes.
Yeah, hi, sir.
Yes, please.
So, will you be covering the stored procedures topic also? Because I'm not having knowledge in stored procedures. How
Okay.
to create.
Okay. So let me open one more thing. Right. So I'm going to create one real-time application, right, using minimum 10 to 20, minimum 20 to 22 tables, right. So this is the ADO.NET application. So here I'm going to create a 20. So you can see the list of tables that what I'm going to develop. And here, right, inside this application, right, I'm going to create, many storage procedure. This is the database design, right? For example, I'm going to implement the, what model you can see, hotel search model, right? In a hotel search model, I'm going to provide many functionality, right? Search by check-in date and check-out date, search by minimum price and maximum price, right? Search by room type, right? View type, right? So these are the different storage procedure. For example, I want to create the booking model, right? So hotel booking model. So here you can see, right, different storage procedures I'm going to create, right? So let me show you the storage procedure. So see, search by availability. So this is one storage procedure. So this is going to be calculate room cost storage procedure, right? So this is going to create a reservation storage procedure. This is not very simple storage this is completely real-time based scenarios, right? How to manage the add guest to reservation, right? So completely, right? So all the scenarios, right? Whatever you are thinking about storage procedure, I'm going to cover with the best,
Okay, sir. Because
with the
I'm
security best practices, right? Means how you can use temp table within a storage procedure to improve the performance, right? All these things with proper explanation, right? Suppose to process the payment, how the payment is going to be processed, what are the validations that you need to implement, how to update the payment status, right? If the payment status, then what are other tables that what you need to implement, right? All these things I'm going to discuss. I'm going to create the entities. I'm going to create the details. I'm going to create the services. I'm going to create the controllers consuming the services, right? All these things are going to be there. Yes,
okay, sir.
completely, right? So that is what, how to test the functionality, right? Everything I'm going to provide. Hotel booking model, hotel cancellation model, right? All these things are going to be explained. Clear? Why I'm saying, because these things I have already
Yes, sir.
covered in my previous session. So I have the documentation, I have the videos, I have the explanation, I have the examples. So when I'm going to start in your batch, I'm going to modify this example. I'm going to give you better examples, better structure, better code, better everything is going to be enhanced.
Okay, sir. Yeah, thanks.
So yes, so we will get the lifetime access for the recorded session. Yes, recorded session are for lifetime. Clear? Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
I can take completely
Yes,
1 week. So this is, you can say, I'm going to take completely 1 week for developing this complete real-time application. Means minimum 20 hours, right? These are 2 hour and a 3 hour session. Minimum 15 to 20 hours I will take to develop this application. Similarly, with this hotel management applications, I'm going to develop 5 to 6 real-time applications. Clear? Anyone having any more question, guys? Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.